is up, everybody? WTF? Welcome to Funkatopia, man. Oh man, I hope you guys are having a wonderful. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Some of you guys had an extended weekend. All good. I mean, that's always great. You know, sometimes it depends if you have kids and they had this past weekend off for the fall break or whatever. I know that's what that kind of happened in most places here in Georgia. So sometimes that's relaxing, sometimes it's not. You know how that is, man. What is going on, everybody? Purple Nerd Channel in the house. Susan Peterson in the house. Michael Nice is in the house. Lawrence, what's going on? You know, and I know Kimberly, I did see you. I'm so glad you're here. You got here super, super early. I greatly appreciate it. We always love it when you guys get here and get situated. Say hello. Let us know where you are. That's always really, really awesome. Hello, Kiaria. You want to talk about your favorite album? That is the way to go, because we have one of the all-time greats here, drummer that was on this album. We're going to talk about all these tracks, man. We're going to talk about all of them. As you know, this is a pre-show. For those of you who are just tuned in, we are doing the pre-show where I kind of get you guys comfortable, get you settled in, let you guys get ready. Go ahead and get your sodas, popcorn, whatever it is that you got to do to get yourself ready, and let's do it. Samantha Jackson, what's going on? Sue from Southern California. Joni Comenza, what's up? And Claire says, hey, everyone. So happy Michael's on today. I am too, because, you know, it was funny. I was looking at this. We were looking at, I can't remember the exact day that we posted it. Actually, I do remember. It was October 13th. So it was only a couple of days. Well, the USA version was a couple of days ago. In Europe, this album, which we're going to talk about tonight, the Love Symbol album, was released on October 5th, 1992 in Europe. In the United States, didn't get it until October 13th, just a couple of days ago. So that's crazy. But the fact of the matter is, it's been 32 years, 32-year anniversary. And I did the post on Facebook kind of announcing that it was a 32-year anniversary. And it was really, really cool that Michael stepped in and said, hey, I can tell you all about that album. Yeah, man. And who better to do that? So as I said, we promised the 8 o'clock hour. So I want to make sure that I don't bring everybody in here or bring Michael in. He's already in the green room. He's already ready to go. We're ready to get this ball rolling. But I want to make sure, because we advertised 8 o'clock, we got to give people a few more minutes here to come in. So here's what I want you to do, though. We are going to be talking about this album. I had mentioned before, one of the things that I wanted to do, because I was going over previous album chats. For those that don't know, if you're new to Funkatopia, please like and subscribe, please, wherever you're watching. I know we got people that are watching on Facebook, YouTube, and also X right now, or Twitter, or whatever you want to call it, or whatever Elon wants us to call it. Whatever the option is, like, subscribe, please do that. Follow is a big one too, because you can also keep up to date anytime that we're actually going live. So that's really, really cool. But for those that don't know, I have done an album chat for pretty much every single one of Prince's albums, with the exception of only a couple of them, like I think Expectation and News. I think Expectation is the name of that album, right? The one with all the X songs. And that's primarily because they're instrumental albums. So there's not like a whole bunch of stories and backgrounds you can share, and you can't really dig into the lyrics and whatnot. And I've done album chats for all of his albums, and also did some for The Time, and also did Apollonias and Vanities and Maseratis. Actually, we had Brown Mark actually on the show doing the album chat with us for Maserati show. And so it was really, really cool to kind of do this. But as I was going back in time and I was listening to some of them, I was just like, man, we've got so much more information. As you can see behind me here, all these new books have come out posthumously that have just filled with data. I mean, it's filled with so much information about every single friggin' song. So I'm looking very, very forward to my good friend, Dwayne Tudall, who, is the author of these books right here, to really kind of dig into this era. But this next book that's coming out is ridiculous. It covers like a ton of albums, because Prince was in the middle. It was his like late 80s. So he was in the middle of that writing frenzy. So I can't wait to get the details on that. But it's always good to kind of come back to some of these album chats and actually bring people on that were part of that mix, that were involved in the album, involved in the recording process, were actually there, knew everything that was going on. Maybe not everything that was going on, but they were pretty much firsthand, front row seats. And so it's going to be an awesome, awesome show tonight because we're going to be talking about the Love Symbol album. That is what we're in for tonight. We only have like one more minute to go, and then we will break it in. But again, this is the pre-show. Jeremy from Tampa, hey, what's going on? Greg from Milwaukee, what is going on? Yes, Susan, you are correct. Michael is in the house. Jeremy says, I went to both shows for this album at the Sunrise Musical Theater. Joni says, Michael Bland gives a great interview. Yes, he does. He's been on Funkatopia, this show, multiple times. Love having him on because he never disappoints. He is always on the ball. He's always giving lots of information. It's always fantastic when he's here. Love him dearly. April from Tampa. Oh man, I hope you guys are okay down there. I mean, that you guys have been through it. So, I mean, to start, the fact that you have internet connection right now is pretty awesome. Or if it's via phone, it's okay. Glad you're with us and glad you're okay. Hope everybody is safe and whatnot. John Wesley Payne in the house from Oakland, San Francisco. Yes. Yeah, sure. We'll probably talk a little bit about Rosie in the mix as well. Christina from Minneapolis. Joni says this is her favorite album. Of course, the one and only Audrey's in the house. What's going on, girl? We always love having you on board. This is great. Krista's excited for the interview. And Purple Nerd Channel. Yes, I love Michael Bland stories, and he's got a million of them. So you know what? It is the Lori from Detroit. What's going on, man? I just can't. You guys are just coming. All right, listen. Yeah, Ronnie, this is great. You actually have questions that you'd like to pose about this album, and I want you guys to pose your questions. Put them in the chat room. I will do my absolute best to keep an eye on that and star them so that when we get to that Q&A segment. Ask Michael. I didn't really create a graphic for that. I think I probably should have. I will ask, but Ronnie's starting right out of the gate. Are there any errors on the albums that he can hear? All right, we'll find out. I'm going to star that, and we will get right back to it, man. I'm going to star that question and bring it in later. So if you do have questions, let me know. All right, so here we are. We are top of the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, it brings me great joy to welcome the one and only Michael Bland to the stage. But before I bring him in, just kind of want to give you an idea of what's going to be happening tonight. Tonight, we're kind of doing an album chat of sorts. We're going to be talking about the Love Symbol album that was released October 13th, 1992 in Europe. I'm sorry, in the United States, and on the 5th in Europe. And I've done an album chat on this before, but there's no better way to do this than to bring in the one and only Michael Bland to kind of talk us through. So let's just do it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me, all of you, give a warm welcome to the one, the only Michael Bland in the house. What's up, my man?
Hey, man. That was a heck of a intro there. That's all right, man.
Oh, come on, man. You deserve it. And that,
I only hope I can live up to it.
That and more, man. I'm so glad to see your face. I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad you're out and about. So what are you doing now? I mean, are you I know Solo Sam's out on the road, but you're not with them right now. What's, are you going to be playing? You just kind of taking a little bit of a hiatus? What's going on? People want to see.
I'm partly personal, partly professional. I'm trying to build things, I mean, I can't I can't run and gun forever. I have to focus on, my stability as I get older. It's your priorities change, and it was just bad timing that I needed to make some changes in my life around the time the tour got booked. But Jerry Pentecost, drummer from Nashville, stepped in, and he's doing a great job. I'll be with the band. We always do our holiday show at First Avenue. I think it's in late December. It's like the 28th or so. I'll be back with those cats. It's just I just needed to take care of some things in my life for my own benefit. And Dave Perner wasn't happy about it, but he understood. And we're brothers. It's much like, a lot like me and Sonny. It's like, we ride for each other no matter what. So
right.
That's just
And I think that's important. I mean, you have to, in the age right now where we are thankfully nowadays doing a lot more focus on mental health and not just mental health, but overall health and physical health.
Right.
It's so important to kind of make sure that you're ahead of that and that you actually have control of that, because the only person that can really control it is you. And it sometimes can be a tough uphill battle, but it's good that you're cognizant of your situation and know when you need to step back and take a break, man. And that's what are you gonna do? That's we love to see you, so all
Yeah,
good.
well,
You're fine.
yeah, well, and I love to be seen, so, let me do what I gotta do, and everything will just, you know, keep moving from there,
Man. Let me just say again, it's an honor to have you on here, and I thought it was I don't know why I didn't think to do it with have any foresight when I posted that it was the 32nd anniversary of this album
Oh,
right,
sure.
the Love Symbol album. And I mean, I was, and then you were like, "Hey, you want to ask me about it? I think I know what
Yeah,
to do."
no, hey, over here, I was there for the whole thing, you could ask me anything you want.
Oh my God. I mean, this album, I tell you, this album was, what was your level of involvement in the album that preceded this, Diamonds and Pearls?
Uh, I'm sorry, you asking about this record, or you asking about Diamonds and
Well,
Pearls?
what was your level of involvement in Diamonds and Pearls? Because one of the reasons why I asked that question was because there was, uh, there was a little bit of carryover, I guess, musician wise and instrumentation wise from that album over to this album. We're going to dive into this album solely,
Sure.
but just curious.
Okay, I'd say I had the same amount of involvement. Really, this is not me saying it, but it's been said that, you know, when I got in the band, it really opened things up for Prince to play consistently with a rhythm section. I'm not criticizing any other drummer that's been on the gig, but I had already been kind of groomed as a studio musician by the time he and I met. So I
Yeah.
had a different sort of, approach to things, mostly metronomic, you know, and so he didn't miss the drum machine as much. You know what I mean? It just like my time was good enough for him. And often during the recording sessions, if anybody was starting to get out of pocket, he'd say, "Listen to the drummer," you know, right on the mic. He wouldn't call anybody out. He'd just make an announcement.
Well, the way you just said that, you said it was good enough for him. And this seems to be like, did you feel like you weren't up to snuff? I mean, did you feel, I mean, this is obviously, the next album in this mix, which we're going to talk about here, the Love Symbol album. Did you feel like, yeah, I got this. This is no problem at all.
No, Prince never. You could never be that confident in yourself. I mean, unfortunately, it was a high pressure situation, and every single day could have been your last.
Yeah. Yeah. I
You
mean,
could count the dead bodies on the way out the building.
and you and I had talked about this offline before. We had talked about Morris Hayes and how his whole vibe was like, I don't even know why I'm here. And it was like, Morris, you're really, really good. And he's like, yeah, I don't know why I'm here.
Uh,
Like, come on.
yeah, I mean, but that working for somebody like Prince, it took more than just being proficient at your instrument. You had to really be the type of person who, uh, like to think and process and solve problems. Because I mean, the average person was perfectly useless to Prince in the studio because his methods were so specialized. And so you had to understand his process really to get in there and help him with it.
Yeah.
So, and I've said about, people tried to badmouth, different people, Hannah, they tried to badmouth Kirk, as musicians. I'm like, listen, if you last, more than 2 weeks with Prince, consider yourself in a special class because it takes a genius to work with a genius. A genius has no use for blunt skulls and small minds. You got to be able to keep up, you
Yeah.
know. So I'm not patting myself on the back. It's just I'm saying I looked alive. I was interested in the process, and I really, could understand where he was coming from artistically.
Yeah. So, and a lot of people don't know this. I mean, this is an original one. This one actually has the gold emboss on the CD case. They did actually make one where that gold is actually on the actual picture itself inside. This is an original one, and it's been contested a little bit, quite frequently, about whether or not this album was called the Symbol album or the Love Symbol album. But we knew that it was a Love Symbol album. Well, you almost kind of didn't, because you're laughing like you know the background story to some of this.
No, I'm laughing because we didn't really know either. We didn't get told nothing.
Well, and obviously when you first buy a CD, it has a plastic wrap on it, and that plastic spine that comes off when you take the plastic off said the Love Symbol album.
Right.
And so that was really the only way that you knew that this was called Love Symbol album. Right now, I don't know if this will pick it up, but right now it just says Prince is a New Power Generation, and it has the symbol. So it doesn't even say what it is. Yeah. So there was a lot of contention, but because of that plastic that was on there, we knew it was the Love Symbol album. Right. And I think what's interesting, there's a couple of things about this. But the first question you just answered, whether internally was there ever any question as to what the album name was, and your answer is we didn't even know.
No, he didn't bother to tell us.
I love how he keeps the band in the dark. He did the same thing with Third Eye Girl, because I had I had Ida on the show, and both Ida and both of them said, minus Hannah, they said that they had no idea what Third Eye Girl was until they went on to the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and they were announced as that, and they were like, "Oh, that's the band.
That's we are.
That's what that is."
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. That it's Prince. So what are you gonna do?
Well, he was always very cryptic about things. For years I didn't realize that it says like "and the Revolution" or something on the 1999 album. He was already
right.
He's already turning the page.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't recognize, and I think if I remember correctly, and I could obviously pull it from back here, it's backwards.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
I think it's "and the Revolution" is backwards inside of the 9 or something. I can't remember exactly where it's.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
He was, also, Matt Fink told me that that he and Bobby and Brown Mark, like, they didn't hear any of the record until it was finished. Like, Prince just kind of gave them all copies and was like, "Learn this." Like, he recorded most of that record by himself.
That's crazy in itself. I guess if he's prepping you for, I guess, what would have been the Act 1, Act 2 tour, you got to know how to play the tracks, right?
Yes.
That's the extent of that. But when you first saw the symbol? Obviously, there's been variants of that symbol. The story is that this symbol was originally done, and I have it written down somewhere in my notes, somewhere buried in my notes, that the symbol that is actually on here was being created by maybe somebody in the chat room can help me. I can't remember. It was a 25-year-old artist, and she was instructed by Prince to create an artistic pretty 7 in order to support the single for the song 7. And obviously you can kind of see the 7 in there. Sure. And sort of without if you take the circle away, it was kind of basically like a fancy 7. Yeah. And Prince saw it and said, and he added the cross on the long stem, and then he added the circle, and he was like, that's what we're going with.
Sure.
And then it was just ended up being, it kind of vamped from a 7 to this symbol, which is actually, now it's super iconic. And he changed, and it wasn't too long that he changed his name to it. And that's, Liz Frey is the person's name.
Okay.
And I actually have a quote from her. It says, he said, "Please make a beautiful 7. This is what she told Page 6 in 2016. And she said, "I drew it by hand. And when Prince saw it," she adds, "he changed his mind and said, we'll use it for the entire album." And then he drew the circle with the cross over it. And then it became what it became. So there you go.
Yeah. But you do, of course, because you're a fan, that he was always sort of, dabbling with this sort of combination of the male and the female sign,
Right.
sort of, you saw it appear every once in a while. But yeah, it's so I could,
And this album has kind of been through a lot. I actually had a clip that I was going to play, but I don't want to play it because it's a song that's not on the album. It's a clip of the performance on the David Letterman show of Dolphin. And
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to ask you about that, but I'm going to move that to after we're done talking it,
Okay, all right.
because I know there's some interesting stories, but I don't want to get too off the rails with this. But originally, when he was configuring the album, there were 7 or 8, reportedly, there were like 7 or 8 segues that were on this album, and they kept on being replaced with actual songs. And then he was like, okay, we'll put that song in there and I'll take that segue out. Do you remember? There's only 2 segues that are on here, and that's not if you're counting the ones that are kind of interpolated with the songs like Damn You into Arrogance. Do you remember, or were you involved in any of those segues that were created at all?
I don't think I was involved in any of the segues. I'll tell you, my recollection was that Levi heard the album with the segues in it, and he came to us, and he was like, "Man, there's a lot of segues on this record. I just think, it's space where more music could go if you want to make an album that big. I'm thinking about talking to Prince about this. Y'all got my back?" I was like, "Yeah, that sounds reasonable to me. I mean, I don't, if I'm all for more music and less, skits and routines. I mean,
Yeah.
but you know what? A lot of people enjoyed the ones that are on Exodus, so I can't really front.
Yeah, some of them are a little bit. The Exodus ones are a little bit over the top for
I
sure.
was involved in almost all of those.
Yeah, like the game
Thank
show
you very
one,
much.
and the beans are wreaking havoc and all that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's those were a lot of fun to record, but
I bet.
I skipped them. I didn't want to hear it.
We're gonna have to do an album chat for Exodus for sure.
I'd love that. Yeah.
That'd be hilarious. All right, so let's get into the album. Let's take it song by song. The first thing is obviously the opening track to this album is "My Name Is Prince," and what was interesting is that in earlier configurations, the opening track was "Sexy MF," and the band wasn't, again, reportedly was never really kind of involved or even consulted about, some of those album configurations, rightfully so. I not rightfully so, but it's expected because it's Prince's thing. And he's, but I mean, is that information correct? Were you guys ever consulted about any of the configurations, or what should we use for an opening song? Or you pretty much just, it was left in Prince's hands and he just did what he did?
Not as a group. At that time, Levi was basically our musical director, and he made a lot of those decisions with Prince. Prince would bounce a lot of things off of him, and sometimes Levi would go back and say, "Me and Prince were talking about this. Does anybody have an opinion about this?" But I think a lot of those decisions, either he made by himself or they arrived at, an answer together.
Yeah, I think I do know that Tommy Barbarella, I found a quote from Tommy Barbarella that he told Rolling Stone in 2016. He said, "I really liked the Symbol album because it was the most band record." He wanted a band sound. He says, and then of course, when the record comes out, there's the track "My Name Is Prince." And he said, "That's all him." And we were all like, no, there were a lot of other better songs on there. We all felt the single kind of killed it. And you feel the same way?
I don't know. I have a different perspective on it because I kind of was there when the idea came up. We were doing something in Studio B, and we all sort of ended up congregating in the lounge area. And Prince came walking in, and Levi turned to him and said, "You ought to have a song called 'My Name's Prince.' My name is Prince, and the B-side should be 'My Name Is Still Prince.'" And then Levi spit out a series of ideas in front of all of us, and we were laughing. And I remember looking over at Prince, and the wheels were turning. Like, he was.
Yeah,
And I mean, literally the whole that I want to be your lover, party up, Levi was doing all of that with his mouth,
oh my God.
and Prince went right in the studio and did it.
That's fantastic. I mean,
Yeah,
I think, to Tommy's point, I mean, his point was obviously we got all these songs that have the full band on it, and he's going with this track that's not.
sure, but you know what? I mean, they're involved. I think that
Right.
I think Tony, Damon, and Kirk are doing all those backgrounds, all that clap your hands, everybody. That's Tony, Damon, and Kirk. They did all those chants, and I mean, to be fair, Diamonds and Pearls opens with Thunder. We didn't have anything to do with that.
Right.
I mean, I didn't take it personal because it wasn't about me to begin with. You know what I mean?
and if you listen really closely to My Name is Prince, there is so much going on, especially listening in headphones.
Mhm.
I know there's a lot of moans that are in there, and those are if you've ever wanted to know, for anybody out there that doesn't know, those moans belong to Kim Basinger.
That makes sense.
Which was recorded during the process of that Scandalous Sex Suite.
Sure.
But I think those were also used on Peach as well. There was like obviously she's a good moaner because apparently that was used like a lot, off and on for sure.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
she moaned good.
Yeah, she killed it.
Did a great job.
Yeah, of course. Some things a little of note I always thought were kind of funny. Have you ever seen, and I don't know why he went this route, but at one point in time he gave Matt Groening, I don't know if I remember pronouncing his name correctly. It's got a strange.
I think it's
Groening.
Yeah.
From the Simpsons, permission to use this song for a Simpsons soundtrack. So that they could do My Name is Bart. And he actually gave him permission to do it. And I guess something kind of fell through or whatever. And then whatever the reasoning was, Prince was like, never mind. But just for the entertainment purposes, I do have a small clip for you guys. I'll let you guys take a listen. Here we go. Check this out.
I've seen those t-shirts. I've seen that face. I've seen the phony Bart all over the place. That Bart's a bootleg. That Bart's a fake. He's out to fool you, man. He's on the take. But now it's time to take a stand. There's only one Bart, dude, and I'm the man. My name is Bart, and I am funky. My name is Bart, the one and only. Hurt me now.
Wow.
Okay. You can find it on YouTube and you can listen to the whole entire song.
Okay.
And I know that Prince, I think I don't know, this wasn't about the same time, but the woman who does the voice of Marge also redid My Little Pill.
Yeah.
And I remember Prince having a big issue with that. So there was like all these little weird things that he kind of had like this love-hate relationship with animation, The Simpsons, and kind of,
Yes.
I don't, was it, you had any background story on this at all?
Not specifically. I just I do remember that we were working on the I'll Do Anything score.
Yeah, EP, yeah.
And when he found out that Julie Kavner, the voice of Marge Simpson, was going to be singing, he pulled out. He said, "You mean Marge Simpson's going to be singing these songs?
Yeah.
Man." And so we went from like working on these demos to like never hearing about it again. And then some of those songs surfaced on the Vault.
Yeah.
That compilation. But yeah, he found out it was going to be Nick Nolte and Julie Kavner, singing his music. He was not pleased.
I just wonder what the storyline or what it was that had Kavner singing the song My Little Pill. It's such an unusual track anyways.
Yeah, it's a weird number.
Yeah, I mean, especially, considering, but it's just, I don't know. Anyways, one thing I will discount, I know that Prince Vault had said that part of the song, My Name is Prince, was actually in response to Michael Jackson proclaiming himself the king of pop back in 1991, which led to Tony's line of, you must become a prince before you're king anyway.
That makes sense.
And I have talked to Tony and asked him about that, and he said no. He said,
really?
That's not. He said that wasn't what happened. He goes, I didn't think anything about that. And since he's obviously the one that wrote the lyric, I think he would know more than anybody. So.
Yeah, but he didn't write. What is it? To whom it may concern, you must come to your senses.
Yes,
there are no kings on this earth, only princes. I don't know, man. I mean,
yeah,
who knows?
So. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, when you have so many hands in the pot, it's just like, yeah, well,
yeah. Prince might have leaned him in that direction with this in mind, and Tony may not have been any the wiser.
Yeah, who knows? It's I mean, it's that's so. Anyways, that was My Name is Prince. I forgot to put up the slide for that.
That's all right.
that is a single for My Name is Prince, which obviously brings us to the song that used to be the opener for this album, Sexy MF. Man, and you definitely got a name for yourself with this video with that hat.
Yes.
the hat. Do you still have the hat, or is that sitting in the fashion?
Oh, man, most of those clothes were Martinized nightly on tour, and by the time we got off the road, a lot of it was just toast. Like the bones in the hat were almost showing, or they were stabbing me in the temple. It just a lot of those clothes sustained a lot of abuse, because you're talking about, we go out and play 2.5 hours, at a football stadium, and then we turn around and we play in a 500 capacity nightclub same night. I mean, it's so the clothes were always on rotation, and just getting made mush out of by the different dry cleaners of the world.
Well, there were bones in the hat.
I mean, when I mean bones, I mean like it had
like the structure of it. Okay.
Yeah, it had. Yeah, because it can't just stick up like that on its own. It wasn't like I had that much hair. It's like the hat itself had,
Well, this
like plastic, like just like maybe 4 of them at approximated, like kind of in a square.
Right. Steve
configuration.
Says, I made it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Then maybe he can explain. It is called boning. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
All right. The more you know, man. I'm learning too.
There you go. But yeah, I mean, so obviously what was interesting about this is that right out of the gate, Prince had made a decision. This is going to be the lead single, which was, from a marketing standpoint, I get it. It kind of reminds me of Prince is always ahead of his time, way ahead of his time on a lot of this stuff. Because when you think of like CeeLo Green dropping Forget You, which was not Forget You. If you've ever heard the original, it's not Forget You, it's F You.
Right.
Times change, and you're able to kind of throw these things out there and kind of, and make them work, and it ends up being really, really successful. But again, Prince being ahead of his time, this is early 90s, with him insisting that be the lead single. You've got a scenario now where it is, you've got a scenario where the radio stations can't play this song. I mean, was there any indication? I mean, first off, did you know this was the lead off single? And was there any discussion internally that are the radio stations even going to play this?
Are we talking about My Name is Prince, or are we on to Sexy MF now?
We're on Sexy MF now. Sorry.
Okay. I know. Well, can I just backtrack just a little bit?
Sure.
Because I think somebody asked him, somebody in the band was like, why do you want to put this song out first? And Prince said, because if I don't put it out now, Warner Brothers will, if I don't do it now, they won't let me do it later. Like, he was dead set on My Name is Prince being the first single, because I guess he thought it was, a strong piece of work that would get lost in the shuffle if he didn't insist that Warner Brothers put it out first. I think they wanted 7.
Right. I'd heard that too.
And of course, I mean, it's like he's going after the Beatles on 7, you know?
Yeah, and they were right, because that
Mhm.
was a far more successful single than Sexy MF. But I
Yeah.
think this period of time in the 90s for Prince, he was, I don't know how else to put it. He was going hard. I mean, I felt like he was really, like, he had internally or externally had to, like, he felt like he had to prove something to somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I think the late 80s were unkind to him a little bit. I mean, you're talking about, you know, I guess what Graffiti Bridge was technically like 90, right?
Okay.
Uh
Yeah. Yeah. But
and
no, Graffiti Bridge is 80. No, 80.
the
Batman.
soundtrack came out. I don't remember the year or
Yeah.
the month the soundtrack came out, but I mean, the record actually did really well until the movie came out and kind of slowed everything down. Thieves in the Temple, you know, went #1 on some chart,
Yeah.
you know, while we were on the nude tour. So we added it to the set. So, you know, we were there, everything was showing a lot of promise. But I think between Love Sexy and the whole controversy involving the Black Album and this sort of attitude that Prince sort of somehow caught on to, that people were saying like, oh, he's gone soft, he ain't funky no more, you know, oh, he's, you know, like, you know,
Yeah.
there was a lot of criticism, and I'm sure some of it was justified. And I think Love Sexy was for a long time my favorite record of his, but it was a miss commercially. I mean, you know, well, we don't have to get into all that. I'm just saying that yes, he had plenty to prove, because Batman was almost like shooting fish in a barrel for Prince. That was easy. I mean, except for the fact that I remember asking him about his work on that record, and he was saying that it was as close as he ever got to really working with like a producer, because Tim Burton pretty much just stood, you know, right there in the breach and was like, okay, give me some songs to listen to, and you know, we'll see what we see. And a lot of the songs Prince submitted, Tim Burton didn't like. So Prince was forced to keep going back to the drawing board. And I really think that when you listen to that record in comparison to his entire catalog, that record is completely different to me. Like sonically, conceptually, he was really after something else, you know? And
Yeah.
I got to hear it like a week before the album actually came out. Me and a couple of members of Dr. Mambo's Combo got invited out to Paisley by Prince, who was in Los Angeles at the time. But you know, like I think it might have been Dwayne, his brother, came down and said, Prince wants you guys to come out to Paisley after. He wants you to hear the Batman record. And we sat in Studio A, and the engineer just cranked it up, and we just listened from start to finish, and it blew our minds. It was Bat Dance. I was like, this dude is insane.
Yeah, it was insane. Yeah.
Not only that, only Prince could do something that ambitious and have it go to like straight to #1. You know what I mean? It's like it
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Radio had no idea what to do with it, because it was like the rock stations were like, we could technically play it. The urban stations were like, yeah, I guess so. And I just
fortunately MTV just kind of played it on rotation, on the hour, every hour. He didn't need the radio for it. It was
right, exactly.
It went, you know.
I was watching the Howard Stern interview that he just did with Kamala Harris, and they actually spent like a good 5-10 minutes talking about the Batman soundtrack. In the interview, I was like, what is happening here? And because he is like obsessed. Howard Stern is obsessed with the Batman soundtrack. Like he like tries to find any opportunity to bring it up. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's a great album, but
wow. I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so
yeah, I'm sorry. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but Sexy MF, also Levi Ceasar.
I was just going to ask that. I said, you had to be there for that. I mean, because Levi's just hitting ideas that are just like, okay.
Yeah, Levi would I'd hear him if I was anywhere in the atrium at Paisley and Levi came walking through. He would. It's probably considered some kind of harassment now, but he'd stick his head in some of the women's rooms on the first floor, and he'd just sing it, "You sexy mother."
Oh my God!
And he'd keep walking. I mean, it was non-threatening. He was joking around, but Prince heard him one day. He was like, "Ooh, I could use that." And we get in the studio and we're working on this groove, and we get all the way up to and Prince stopped everybody. He's like, and this is where Levi says, "What?" And Levi was like, and then he realized he had been caught. You sexy mother.
Oh my God.
And I was like, whoa, okay, all right. Wow, you can't say nothing around Prince. He'll make a song about it.
Well, and I think what's really cool about it is that he actually gave him writing credits on it, because
yes,
there's plenty of opportunities that have happened, similar situations just like that, where they didn't get the nod. But
oh yeah, I mean, I've said it before, and I'm not making a big deal about it, but Sonny and I gave him a fair share of ditties, not, no pun intended.
Yeah,
fair share of good grooves to write to. 3121 was the last one he got out of us. We were just getting tones for the engineering. Can you guys play something so I can get these tones together? So Prince comes back down there and he's not yelling at me. Oh, sure, man. And we just started funking, and we got to that groove, and we started, oh man, this is hot. And I looked up, and Prince was standing in the airlock in Studio A, and he looked like he didn't know whether he wanted to go in the studio or come out with us and catch some of this. And I saw him open the door. He leaned over and opened the door to the studio and said, put on a roll of fresh tape, because I saw the dude go scattering for another tape, another reel. And he came, he did the cool jog in there with me and Sonny. What key is this? What we playing? What's that? That's nasty. What's this? And me and Sonny kind of, gave each other the side eye, like, man, back in the day, if we, he did that a few times, and we got wise. And when we see him coming, we'd stop playing.
That was always one of the questions that I had to ask about you, because, I mean, obviously, I guess at this point you're probably salaried, and it's kind of like any job. It's like, you come up with an idea on the job, that idea belongs to the company. I mean,
yeah,
but
that was my understanding on the way in. That if it does happen, don't come looking for anything, because Prince ain't gonna give you none of it. So I never asked, and that's my own fault. I was talking to Matt Fink. That was this afternoon, and he was saying, I guess I'll say this much, because Fink actually fought a lot for his credit on certain songs from back in the day, and I didn't really even know that was an option. And he was like, "Oh no, you guys should have," I'm like, I was 19, man. What'd I know about that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you were just like, wow, I'm just glad to be in this situation at all.
Yeah. I was so busy juggling,
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. I was just busy trying to be good enough. I wasn't thinking about what I could get for myself. And,
good enough. I'm literally like watching. I'm like trying, just so you know, all these people that are in the chat room, if I see you ask a question, I'm not ignoring you. I'm literally starring a lot of questions that I can ask him later when those specific songs come up, or, afterwards or whatever. So I'm not ignoring you. But the point of me bringing them up right now is because I'm seeing just comment after comment of people telling you that you are their favorite drummer, and it's an honor to have you here. And I mean, all these people are just, they got nothing but love for you. So yeah, you were definitely worthy enough to be in the room. That's
all right. Don't make me cry now. Don't make me cry.
No, I mean, come on. All these people, they all, you guys want to give them a little bit of love right now. I'll post them up here to make them,
It's all right, man. It's okay. I'm not particularly thirsty right now, but it's nice to know.
All right.
So anyway, yeah, Sexy MF. I don't think Prince really cared about whether they play it or not. There's a clean version, was the "You Sexy Mother," that one.
Yeah.
was the one they were spinning. And in the UK, somehow they managed to just play it anyway.
I can't get 3121 out of my head. And ever since you mentioned it now, the pump, 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 that driving, I mean, oh my
That's me and Sonny. That's what happens when we get together in a room. We can't control it. We have the impulse to make music together. And he benefited from that a number of times. 3121, P Control, Rip Hop Go to Zipper. Now
we actually had, I did a broadcast, and it was Prince's dirtiest songs. And like we had everybody vote, but we were also looking at the actual content of songs. We kind of went up the list and we got to number one, and number one was For Pop Go the Zipper, because I don't know if you guys have ever paid attention to the lyrics of that song, but it is
it's pretty explicit.
It's pretty explicit. It's not just like the normal type of content. It is descriptive in like ways that
but is it nastier than Schoolyard?
Schoolyard was in the top 3.
Okay.
more for, I think it was number 2 actually, because of the shock value, the warm lotion thing.
Yeah, that got me. I was like, ooh.
It's like, oof. Like kind of like this balance shock value versus, oh my, when you get a little bit more, it's one thing when you're just saying something just for the shock value of it, but then when you get descriptive, that kind of takes that to another level. It's like, okay.
Hey, listen, man, let me just say,
okay,
I'm still not past it, because I was watching that footage from the Diamonds and Pearls, the DVD from the Glam Slam. And there's a point while we're vamping on Cream where he starts saying some wild mess. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yeah, I do.
And I was like, ooh.
Yeah, it's
like he took me back to being like, like with Richard Pryor on the stereo, it turning it down so my mom and dad couldn't hear me listen to, like, where you cover your mouth because you're embarrassed. You don't want to get found out. Like he had me feeling like that.
Yeah, I know. Well, Quest.
How do you say that in front of a couple thousand people? Just
I mean,
he was bold.
Quest said he always he loved Prince, but he always used to have to hide his albums inside of his snare drum. So does dad. Yeah, and it was funny because out of all the stuff that I listened to with Prince and everything else that I listened to, the only song that my mom ever walked into and was like, "Well, I can't believe that," was weirdly enough The Police's Synchronicity 2, where he says, "It's a humiliating kick in the crotch." And she happened to walk in during that line and she was like, "What are you listening to?" And I'm thinking to myself,
better not play her Darling Nikki.
This is what you're you have no idea. Oh my. It's like, okay, mother, I will take Synchronicity off and put it on the side.
And I'll wait till you leave and I'll put on Dirty Mind.
I'll put on Lady Cab Driver.
Oh man.
With headphones.
I told you before about Lady Cab Driver, right?
No.
Did we talk about this?
I don't think so.
We went salvaging samples. Like when we need samples for the show, we'd get permission to get stuff from the vault. Like we'd have the engineer go down and pick out the tapes we needed, and they'd bring them up. And so we'd have the multi-track. We're pushing up faders, looking for everything, like, okay, I can grab this loop here. Morris would be grabbing like the background samples, and Tommy would be grabbing, like any kind of sound effects or, so we had a system, and we'd be sitting in the studio just listening to these recordings. And that's also how we found out that there was another verse to Purple Rain that got taken out, because it was a live recording.
Right. And there was a big solo from Wendy at the beginning of that too that was cut too for obvious reasons. It was like,
but Lady Cab Driver, the bed squeaking, Prince and the girl moaning is on like a stereo microphone. Like it's on, like it's all on the same track.
Oh my God. See, I think is it like buried behind drums or something? Because I don't know that I remember hearing squeaking. Oh, I'm gonna have to listen to this now.
There's squeaking.
Oh my
There's
god.
squeaking and moaning and Prince, blaspheming.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry, he's blaspheming. That line about this is for the creator of the creator of man and all that. That always gave me the creeps, man.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. This okay. We're getting okay. I'm gonna have to re-listen.
Okay, sorry, man. We're off subject.
It's all right. I knew this was gonna happen anyways, this is great.
Okay, well,
I love it. I love it.
uh,
The stories are fantastic, so nobody's gonna slap our hands. I don't think anybody in the chat room is upset that we've gone down rabbit holes. Nobody cares.
yeah. All right. Well, I mean, I don't mean to offend anybody. We're just sharing.
What Steve 858 says, Jill said she recorded the track alone when Prince left the studio. I don't know if that's true. I think I don't
It
remember.
ain't what it sounded like to us. We had the tape.
It's probably all over.
I'm not calling her a liar. I'm just saying what it seemed like was everything was on the same track.
All right. Oh, and also, let's see. I had one more thing on Sexy MF before we move to Love to the Nines. Again, another quote from Tommy Barbarella in that same Rolling Stone interview in 2016. He says, that song was recorded in about 20 minutes, half an hour. He said, I hated my organ solo on it. I wanted to make it better and fix it. But Prince was like, no, it's fine. Just leave it, because he wanted that spontaneity with the band. Can you remember that? I mean, we can talk about it when we get to a specific track, but do you remember any specific track that was like that for you, where you were just like, I really want to fix that drum part, and Prince was like, no, just leave it? Was it anything like that?
No, he and I probably was a real thorn in his side about that, because sometimes he'd say, no, just leave it. I'll fix it. And what he meant by fix it was he would use whatever I did. He would, manipulate the environment musically to make it make sense. I mean, he really, he was really a very inventive sort of person. I'll tell you, one day he was like, "You're worse than I am, man. Get out of here. Go. Oprah's on. Go." I was like, "Can we cut that one more time?" No, we cannot. It's fine. I'll fix it. Don't worry about it. There was a break in the morning papers towards the end where we kind of go around the na 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 na. Mm-hmm. Like there's a part where I stopped, and when I stopped, I went to grab my hat. My hat had fallen off my head, and I got it back on my head in time to come back in. And the Prince like, that's all right. That's cool. That's fine, sir. You're done, sir. Things like that happened all the time, and he would take his time when it was him doing overdubs and whatnot. But me, it'd be take one or take two, and usually that's as much as we would get a chance for.
Yeah, I hear
everybody would start fixing their stuff, and I got to leave mine.
Yeah, well, Wendy was the same way. She was really animate about her vocals on Sometimes It Snows in April, because you remember that song in the beginning when she's going,
it
goes off key, and
a little bit, but it has a character to it.
It does have a character to it, and Prince knew that. But in Wendy's mind, being the musician, the amazing musician and choreographer that she is, she hears it, and it's just like, it probably, for her being the perfectionist that she is, it probably grated on her. She's like, let me fix that. And Prince was like, nope, I'm leaving it like it is.
You can argue with Prince over his music, how it's to be presented. No, you're not gonna. I mean, I think there was a particular track we cut. I think we tried re-recording Something Funky, This House Comes, on the same session that we recorded Horny Pony. And I remember being really disappointed with the second pass of Something Funky. And I think I was just happy that it was off the track listing. We didn't have to discuss it, but I definitely tried to make up for it on Horny Pony. It was like, "Oh, you woke up now. Okay, I see you awake. You're with us now. Okay. All right, young man."
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, you can't argue if he's got an ear for it and he's just like, no, that's, you think it's wrong, but he's like, that's going to add character. That's,
Mhm.
those little things that he would do, like, E flat, look at me in the bass, it's like
Yeah,
those
yeah.
things.
Mhm.
Like, okay,
No, I learned that I finally figured out that he really looked at at albums like they were just a you know, like a moment in time. That's it. It was not a matter of recording the definitive version
right,
because music isn't even really like that. I mean,
right,
you have the version that comes out, but I mean, as you know, because we've talked about it, Prince would do different versions of his songs.
a lot,
A lot of that is in the vault. He would, he'd try it one way, then he'd try another way, and so while we think of it as being this is, the mother's milk, Prince was like, this is just what's happening right this second. And then we go out and whatever the record was, we sounded better because we aimed for a higher mark by then.
right,
We knew the music. I mean, when it's first traveling through your veins, it's not fully realized. So he was really just trying to get the essence of the idea. He didn't want things so permanent and
Richard.
not the word's not serious, but yeah, it had to have the feeling was what he was after, really, on the recording. It was not about perfection per se, you know.
Yeah, and I think when he does focus on perfection, it definitely sounds very different. Like Rainbow Children, we had talked about this too. A
Sure.
very different sound.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's fantastic, but it's a very different sound.
Mhm.
But it doesn't have that loose, raw feeling that a lot of the albums in the '90s and even late '80s did. It's a
Sure.
very, very different sound.
Now, I mean, it wasn't a matter of it wasn't a comparison between being tight or sloppy, because you always had to play tight.
Yeah, not sloppy.
It
No,
always had to be tight.
yeah,
So it's not that we could relax and start playing like the Rolling Stones or somebody. It was there was a certain there was a pulse, an agreement to the meter and to where one was at, you
right.
know, and that was that was king. Like playing, together and tightly. That was always the dynamic. It didn't even need to be discussed because we knew that was the standard. Whatever else was going on, you better play tight.
Right. No, yeah, that absolutely was, yeah,
Yeah.
that was priority.
Yes.
Priority number
My
one.
priority. Yeah.
All right, that takes us to Love to the Nines. All right.
Yes.
Love
And,
to the Nines.
and
All right.
that takes us to the longest recording session of my life.
Really? Okay. So let's go. Let's break in with that.
Okay.
What?
Well, I mean, it was only one of, I think, 3 songs we recorded in that session. We recorded Johnny in that session, and we also recorded 3 Chains of Oh Gold in that session. So it means not just the time to track it, but the time to build the arrangement. Really, Prince just kind of walked into the studio with you remember those old school cassette decks that were like a rectangle and the speakers here,
Mhm.
and Prince had one of those that he always brought to the studio. Sometimes he brought it, but I think sometimes he might have had 2, like one at home and one at Paisley. So he just take the tape and come to the studio. But I get there and he's sitting down and he's going back over some parts that he played on piano at his house, and then he's sitting there and he's working them out, and then he gets to like, okay, I'm hearing this kind of rhythm, like something, not not
Yeah, it's really staccato.
Latin really, but
Yeah.
sort of, something that's got a little more motion to it than a normal drum part. So we work at it until we get the beat for Love to the Nines with and then Kirk falls in on the congas and we get that percolating pretty good. And then he starts showing the band the ba 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 ba. And they all fall in. We're just taking instruction at this point. But we had to assist him in the arrangement of that and also 3 Chains of Gold, which, oh man, And we kept trying to record it, and every time somebody would make a mistake because it was a lot to remember, you know. And
Yeah. So why did it take so long? Was it because
oh
was
well,
everything
because
working, all the changes and everything,
he'd be
or
like, "No, that's not really working. These two sections back to back, that's not really working. What if we do this?" And then we record it that way. No, And I mean, the song itself is what, 6 minutes, 7 minutes?
yeah, something like that. Let me look it up. Yeah, 5:44.
All right, close enough. Almost six.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa, brother's brother is on there. Kirk Johnson just chimed in. Yeah,
Oh yeah, there's Kirk Johnson. What's up?
that's
What's
right,
up,
man.
What's up, Kirky J?
Me and Kirk, we had it locked, man. We had it locked. We were thinking as one in the studio without even thinking about it.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
love. Yeah,
No, we had it, man.
we lock like crazy. Yes,
Yeah,
you do.
he's not lying. Man, we were so tight.
Welcome aboard, Kirk. Thank you for
Yeah.
chiming in, man.
Um,
He's a good good
Absolutely. I met Kirk, a couple years before the whole Prince thing happened, really. And I remember seeing him playing with a local guy named Billy McLaughlin. And right away I was like, that guy's a good drummer. Like I hadn't really seen so many drummers. I was only old enough. I was maybe 17 or 16 at the time. So I was sort of sneaking in clubs that I wasn't playing at,
right.
And I saw him and I was like, okay. And I, immediately felt this sort of musical kindred spirit with him, and who knew we'd be,
He's the dude.
you never know, who's going to join you in the future,
Yeah.
but I say to many people, I don't believe in accidents. I believe, that things happen the way they're supposed to.
And he's a good choreographer too. I mean, because if anybody's ever seen some of the Prince live on the big screen shows that have happened posthumously, I mean, Kirk is like one of the core people that helps to put those things together and making sure those shows are perfectly in sync with what's going on audio wise, and that I mean, he's a real integral part of that. So,
Sure. Yeah. All the choreography was collaborative with those guys in Prince. And we'd be rehearsing, the music in Studio C, and they'd be like out near the sound stage working on the choreography. And then at some point during the day, they'd come down and join us. And, even from there, it's like we would pick up on things they were doing with the choreography that then we'd adjust the music to. So this was the way we prepared to go on tour all the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, Wes, speaking to Love to the Nines, you said this was the longest session. What are we talking about here? We're talking about like days to get to completion of this song, or how long?
No, not days. I mean, it was just also we just got back off the Diamonds and Pearls tour.
Oh God.
It's like we had 3 days off, and I'm I'm walking. I forgot to mention this. I'm walking into the studio with my ex-wife actually, and Prince is wearing some of my tour clothes. He's wearing actually it was an outfit that I had back when, like, before the Symbol album, I'm wearing the clothes that I already had in my wardrobe in the photos in the Love Symbol album jacket, like in the pictures. I had those clothes already, and it's like green and purple maybe.
Yeah, I think I'm trying.
I had a hat to match that had like purple stripes on it.
Oh yeah. Hold on a second. I guess
that's it.
A little bit larger.
Yeah,
that one.
Prince had the shirt and the pants on from that outfit, and he had clothespin, it to my clothes to fit him. And I walked in and I'm like, "Hey man," and she and I are looking at him. He says, "How do you like it? It's the latest in bland wear." And I just didn't know what to say about that.
Slight, almost, kind of.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it was like, wow, Prince, okay. I mean, I felt that it was sort of intimate. You know what I mean?
All right, so and I just realized we got to be real succinct about what we say, because I also see my good friend Dwayne Tudall's in the house and said,
Oh boy.
author of all these books that you have back here. So I'm guaranteed he is going to be using portions of this in the book.
That's okay. I mean, I just saying, it's like he must have really liked me, because I wouldn't just put on anybody's clothes. I personally can't. He could make anything fit, but it's like, wow. And my ex-wife said something, later. I was like, he's got a crush on you or something, like a male crush. I was like, she's like, men don't do that. They don't put on each other's clothes like that, do they? Like, I mean, the fact that he was comfortable enough to do that, it at least told me that he didn't think I had cooties or anything. So he wore that stuff all day. He wore my pants and my shirt.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I mean, God love him, man. I mean, just for being such a free thinker in the first place,
Yeah.
Like, all right, Prince, did you want to pick up on my energy? Did you, I don't know what he was after, but I just kind of went, oh, okay.
I think there's people like that in everybody's life that, they walk into a room and you're just like, what are they wearing? That kind of looks, this is not the term of the day, but that looks fly. That looks, that looks great. That looks,
Yeah.
and then that just kind of happens. And if, I don't know necessarily, maybe you are one of those trendsetters and didn't even know it, I guess. Kind of trying to think of the right
I
term.
did find out later that he really did like the color green a lot.
Oh, okay.
So I remember Sonny and I, when we were rehearsing for the Leno show in 2009, and I was wearing green, and when I got to Prince's house for rehearsal, the drum set he had was also green. And he noticed that. He said, "Oh, green. Okay." He said, "You're tuned in." Okay, I don't I don't know if I was or not. But Prince said I was, because I walked in this room with green clothes on, going to play a green drum set. So I agree, no accidents, but I don't know what any of it means sometimes.
Knowing Prince was probably playing in some form or fashion. It was just like probably leaving your house and it's like, what color clothes is he wearing? All right, switch out the drum set, Kirk.
Yeah, bring the green drum set.
Bring the green one in.
Yeah.
This actually, Love to the Nines, was the very first song recorded and released that featured Maite, which I totally had forgotten when I was kind of going through this, which is kind of cool. The term, just so you know, the term "to the nines" actually originated by the poet Robert Burns. If you don't know who that is, he's the same guy who wrote Auld Lang Syne, the New Year's Eve track that everybody sings at midnight. He actually came up with that term, and it basically means the highest degree, perfection, the most, whatever it is. He actually came up with that. And when you're talking about this song in particular, I'm curious about the band feedback on the change in this song, because it starts out like a really breezy jazz type of tune. And then, of course, a little over 2 minutes in, it just kind of breaks into this really upbeat drum and bass riff with Prince rapping. How do you, was this something that you guys came up with, or did he already have that conceptualized in his head when he had constructed the song?
No, we were moving. We'd have to pretty much have each section of music under our hands before we moved to the next. Like we rehearsed the verse until it sounded pretty much like what he was looking for. Till Levi got that, till everything kind of took a space,
Gotcha.
And then he moved to the chorus and said, "This kind of goes like this." And then we discussed how the rhythm would change. And he showed how the chords were going, and Sonny was like, "Okay, I'll go to my upper register there." Good, Sonny, good. It's just, we had to work on the different sections before we knew how to put them together. And by the time we got there, he was like, "I want to do a completely different thing here." Like, I mean, we were just good listeners and good followers, man, really. And learned how to explore the options right there. I mean, really, I credit Prince to this day for making me less afraid to experiment in the studio, because when I first joined the band, I'd look up and it'd be like, I'm surrounded by dudes who have been doing this for longer. Not longer than I've been alive, but a long time, like they've all been working together. And I'd be afraid. Prince would say, well, give me some sort of beat for this. And I'd kind of pause like Cindy Brady on the Brady Bunch when the light went off on the camera. They turned the camera on and Cindy Brady just, that was me. And Prince finally just said, hey, listen, man, put your hands down and try something. It's not that serious. Like you have to make a sound. You have to find the city and then you can find the street, but you have to start moving.
Dwayne says, "Love to the Nines." They think they cut Johnny, 3 Chains of Gold, and Love to the Nines during this session.
Like I said, yes.
When this was on Halloween, according to what he's put here. Do you remember?
Yeah, we only been back in town for a few days.
Oh my gosh! So you probably didn't know what holidays were happening.
No. Well, I mean, he'd give them to us. I mean, because he legally sort of had to. I mean, if they were the ones that you got, vacation for. But I remember the year that we started experimenting with the new power trio, Thanksgiving that year, Prince was like, now, state of Minnesota says I got to give you all the day off tomorrow, but I can direct this band with a turkey leg in my hand. We can still work if y'all want. Y'all want to work? No, Prince, I got plans. No, Prince. Okay. All right. So, it was, he didn't care for holidays much because I'm sure it brought up, his past and his, a lot of people don't care for the holidays, to be honest,
Joshua said, was that percussion track in the background sampled from something else on that song?
Which song? I'm sorry.
I think Josh, are we still talking about Love to the Nines? Is that what we're talking about?
Oh, yeah, sure. No, that was when he was starting to sample all these, what's the guy's name? Nusrat Ali Khan. And like he was getting into a lot of, he was playing a lot of Egyptian music in the studio. He was listening to it all, and Mighty was around. So they were talking about a lot of this. And, so he started sampling some of those records. Like Zakir Hussain, people like that. And
who wrote the lyrics to the rap that he did? Was that
sorry,
him?
what's that now?
Who wrote the lyrics to the rap that he did over that section? The looking for a lover with the body that says Samo. I want to see that booty boom. Before I even let her get close enough to smell perfume, I'm looking for a PhD, which
yeah, I think that Tony might have had something to do with PhD,
which is an acronym for ass piled high and deep.
Just nasty. Oh, so nasty.
So you think Tony may have been the one?
I can't say for sure. I know I heard that term around because things could get pretty racy around a bunch of free talking musicians. Like things can escalate quickly.
Escalate quickly.
Yeah.
And then of course there's the call and response towards the end with Mighty and Tony M talking about how they're gonna make her booty boom.
Yeah. I was watching the ABC special we did from the soundstage at Paisley.
Mm-hmm.
I was at my mom and dad's house still living at that time, and I was watching it in the front room, and my dad came walking through the room to do something. I think he was going to get the mail or something. And he said, "Did he say make that booty boom?" I said, "Yeah, that's what he said." My dad just kind of chuckled and kept moving. But this is the same man who one day he was outside in the yard, like I thought about this like yesterday with the weed whacker, and I told Prince about this. I said, my dad was outside yesterday with the weed whacker singing Purple Rain. But I was by the window, but except my dad did like all old dudes do. They mess up the lyrics.
Oh,
my dad was out there talking about purple rain and all them things. Prince fell out, man. That's just old black men just mess up the lyrics. Like in Raw when Eddie Murphy's talking about his dad messing up. I know you want to leave me, but I refuse to let you go. Purple Rain and all them things. Oh. All right. He turned it into like a Brooke Benton song.
It's got like all over the map.
Oh man.
All
But
right.
yeah, I mean, Love to the Nines. Somebody asked why didn't we play it live? It was just one of those. We played some of it. We
Yeah,
used to do,
I think according to Prince Vault, it was played in January 11th, 1992 at Glam Slam in Minneapolis. Obviously, we know about that one.
yeah, I don't think we ever played it in its entirety. We
Right.
probably didn't. But I remember it was a segue between.
Insatiable.
Could have been.
Yeah, it
But
says
also, I remember it going into Damn You at some point. Like we do the bow, bow, da, 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 da. And then there was like a dance break.
it says January 11th, 1992. It's improvised with Insatiable, and then December 17th, 1992, in medley with Sexy MF.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah. And then, of course, it was one of the songs that he played during the Prince Piano on a Microphone tour, believe it or not.
It's got a great piano part. I don't blame him. The piano's cool on that.
That was in Oakland, though, February 28th, 2016. In Oakland, he did it on the.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been there for that. I would have been with Soul Asylum in adjacent to some mosh pit, probably out east.
All right, that brings us to the next song in the mix, The Morning Papers.
Yeah, I kind of sneaked over there talking about my hat falling off during the outro of that song.
Right.
I mean, what can you say about that song? As soon as he showed it to us, I was like, oh, this is a classic. Also, a lot of Prince likes the key B flat, Purple Rain's in B flat, Cream's in B flat. Like it's one of his keys. He likes to write in B flat, also in A, but
It's heavy.
yeah. And as soon as he started playing those chords, I was like, oh, this is something. This is going somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, there's some artists that kind of fall into certain. I can't remember what I was watching. I was watching some video on Facebook. It was one of Facebook Reels, and there was an ad that popped up. There was a guy who was saying, "Hey, if I teach you these 3 chords, you can play 200 songs." And he like went through, like, there was like this laundry list of songs that were like scrolling up the screen, and he was showing how those 3 chords,
Mm-hmm.
just in various configurations.
Yeah, my friend John Fields calls those the 4 chords of doom, because when people started using that and stopped writing bridges and whatnot, music just took a real hit. Like you didn't really have to be, you didn't have to use your ingenuity at that point. I mean, between U2 and I don't know who else, but they made that chord progression popular, and it's like even today you can hear it.
Oh yeah, it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to ask you about this particular song, because in this song, lyrically, Prince is really kind of addressing a lot of the feelings and emotions that he has. I mean, obviously it's a song, so maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I mean, it's pretty obvious that he was. Maite is 19 at the time, I think, when this is recorded, but the lyrics kind of surround the 3 chains of gold, which we'll talk about a little bit further down. But some of the lyrics is, he realized that she was new to love, naive in every way, every schoolboy's fantasy she was. And I'd skip over here. That's why we had to wait. If you poured his heart into a glass and offered it like wine, she could drink and be back in time for the morning papers. And then further in the song says, why is age more than a number when it comes to love? Should we ask the ones who speculate when they don't know what it's made of? It seems like he's really, really wrestling with the feelings that he has for Maite. Again, who's to say Prince wrote the song, but it seems it's paralleling with his relationship with her for sure.
Sure.
During this album, or actually during the recording of this, did you actually, personally, one-on-one, actually see some of this, or one-on-two, see this relationship blossoming? I mean, did you think this may have been an act for the theme of the album, or were you too new to the scene to know the difference? I mean, or even care?
I'm telling you, I was in my own world, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see that, that there was something between them, but I mean, he never just brought women around who he didn't have some sort of interest in, you know, in the time that I had been there. So, I mean, when I got there, it was, you know, Kim Basinger walking around, you know, and I'm looking at the ground trying not to make eye contact because I don't know what's going to happen if, you know, if I even talk to this woman. Nobody else was talking to her, so I wasn't going to be the first, you know.
Yeah, Kim's terrifying in person. And I met her by accident. I was dancing. A lot of people don't know this. I've told this story before, but I was in a club in Atlanta called Rupert's. And
I know Rupert's. They had one up here in Minnesota.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, they're amazing band. And I always used to go to the club because I was working at the hotel right across the street, which is a Holiday Inn in Buckhead.
You're in Atlanta?
Yeah, I'm in Atlanta.
I was at that Rupert's. We got snowed in to Atlanta on this tour, on the Act One tour.
91. Yes, you did.
Yes. And it was only like maybe a half inch of snow, but the entire city was just shut down.
Oh, well, yeah, 93. You guys missed about a couple of years. 93 was a big blizzard, which was, you know, normal snow up in like Minneapolis or whatever. But
it might have been later. But I mean, it was 93 and we were snowed in, and we were at the Hotel Nico. And and for like 3 days, but we had dates in Canada that we needed to go for. And Prince had to charter a jet. Wow. We chartered a flight.
So I go over to Rupert's and all of a sudden they start playing this wave. I was there by myself, and all of a sudden they start playing this wave of Prince songs. I'm like, oh, awesome. And I was definitely more of a free spirit. And I went out to the middle of the floor and I was dancing and I was in my zone Then all of a sudden,
you dance, man?
Back then I could. Yeah, sure. Now I just now I just do the old man stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say your hips lock up on you now. Yeah,
I do the uncle stuff now.
The what they call the white man's overbite. Is that
is that what it is? I don't know what they call it. Yeah, I don't do the Trump thing.
That wasn't meant to be the Trump thing. That was.
But I'm like in my moment. I'm in my moment. Then somebody pushes me, and I'm like, "Who the hell was pushing me?" And I look up, and it's Kim Basinger, and she's standing right in front of me, and she's like, "Dance, dance." So I was like, "Oh, okay." So I start dancing a little bit more, and she's dancing with me for all of like 15 seconds, but it felt way longer than that. And then she turned around and walked away and started dancing with other people, with the guys she came with, and I was like, what just happened? And I come to find out that she was in town to, this was like kind of around the Batman era or a little bit beyond that. And she was in town she was trying to buy a town in Georgia. I think it was Brazelton, I think. And so I guess she was there on business. And
well, she's from Athens anyway, right?
I don't know.
She came up with the B-52s. That's what she told me one night when I'm leaving to go find the bathroom. I turned the corner from Studio C, and we almost like bump heads, and I'm terrified. And she's like got a University of Minnesota Gophers sweatshirt on, and her hair is just like kind of thrown all over her head. She looked great, even that way. But she's, oh, hey, I wanted to tell you, you're such a great drummer. I mean, I really like how you play. And I'm like, oh, thank you. And I'm trying to, keep moving because I don't think I'm supposed to be talking to you, ma'am. So I scurried to the, I kind of, quick time it to the bathroom, and I hope nobody saw that. She was actually a cool person, man.
She was,
but as much as I got to know her.
I understand the fear.
Yes.
I was in that fear. I was like, oh, and then it dawned on me, oh, that's why they played all the Prince stuff, because there was all that.
She was there. Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's why they're doing it. They're not doing it because the DJ's cool. They're doing it because bass singers in the house. That's why. Anyways, what are you talking about? Somebody's asking, how do we get one of these shirts? Are you talking about the brother shirt? You have to talk to that man about where
they want the brother shirt. Are you able to make text that we can see on the screen?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Okay. I believe it's let
me see if I can I'll make an adjustment. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. It's www.brothersmusic Bandcamp.
Oh, okay. So I don't think there wouldn't be a www. It's bandcamp.com.
All right, fine. Yeah, that's how old I am. I still don't know if you got to include it.
All right, get your brother's shirt. Let me put that up here.
Brothers Music. Yeah.
All right.
Bandcamp.com/merch.
/merch. All right, cool. We will save it.
Everybody, please buy one. Please buy one.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go.
Music Sunny, we could use the money.
Brothersmusic.bandcamp.merch. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is like really cool. We'll probably want to double check that URL, but that should be it.
I'm looking.
Yeah. So there you go. That's pretty much all we wanted to say about the song. It's a great, I mean, we're still talking about the morning papers. Great.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I thought it right away. I was like, I really like what's happening here. I mean, and I think it was probably pretty thinly veiled autobiographical work, I'd say.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I would say, yeah, I just, when you look at the lyrics, it just makes complete sense. I mean, it just does. He was, and throughout this whole entire album, it's like he was kind of, I think there may be a handful of songs, 3 maybe, that were not written in this, maybe Blue Lights in that mix, that kind of were parallel, but weren't about the relationship with Maite, because when Blue Light was written, Maite would have been 16. So we'll get to that.
Okay. I mean, are we moving on now? Are we into the Max?
Let's see. What is the next one? The next one is the Max. You're correct.
Okay. I'm not that old.
No, you're not. You got, I mean, you're on this, you're all through this. This actually, according to what I read here, it's the studio version of the song was premiered at a New Year's Eve party at Glam Slam in Minneapolis, December 31st, 1991. Were you there when it debuted?
I must have been.
So yeah. So tell me stories about the Max. I mean, I know a lot of people who say, when you talk about this album, that are like, the Max is my favorite song up this album. I mean, you could pick anything, but I do hear this song brought up a lot.
We didn't have that much to do with it. I know that I can say that I remember Prince was playing it and playing it for us, like on the soundstage, and Levi started playing along with it. You know the part where it goes, "Oh, get funky."
Yeah.
That guitar part, that was Levi. He started playing. He said, "Prince, you need to put this on it." And he started playing this part, and they went right in the studio. Prince said, "Okay, come on, let's go." And they laid it right down.
Yeah.
So.
And he actually he played this on the Prince piano and a microphone tour in his final show.
Again, it's that guitar. I had heard him playing that piano part, like just randomly in different keys. He just, at some point, if he was warming up, you'd hear him. He was just, I was like, well, I wonder what he's going to do with that. It sounds kind of like ragtime or like stride piano. And it was just this thing I'd hear him playing. So he finally found somewhere to put it. It was really what happened.
What was interesting is that it also says that it's the lead line is from Raven to the Joy Fantastic, which was written in 1988, but not released until 99.
Right.
So I mean, I just love how he just kind of borrows elements from all across the board. I mean,
oh yeah. I'm sorry. That would make sense. I was listening to you, but Kirk says that's my programming right there. Yeah. Because there's no live drums on the Max. That was Kirk. I'm sure.
So I mean, and right, because that was the one song. That's the note I had on here, is the band wasn't really involved in this track. But
yeah, I mean, that's probably Kirk and Damon and Tony on the "We'll Get Funky" and all of that. But
I believe it. So we have a segue that's in there, but then, so we're not really talking about the segues other than, the segues are really kind of cool because you've got Kirstie Alley in the mix. Rest in peace.
Sure. Oh, wait a minute. I don't think I knew did she die?
Yeah, she died. I don't remember the date, but she died a couple years ago, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
she had a lot of ongoing health issues. All I don't remember what the
I
cause of
see.
death was, but yeah, she passed away a couple of years ago. She's
Right. I
not
never
old.
got to meet her, but she seemed like a nice person.
Yeah, that was my next question, is whether or not you got an opportunity to actually meet her or see her.
The first time they met was at the Special Olympics sound check in 91.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I had read something about something weird
Mhm.
that Prince actually liked the show Cheers
He
and
could
actually
have. Yeah, sure.
went to one of the tapings of the show. Um,
Okay.
and actually it's part of the story of Sweet Baby, which we'll get to as well. But
Okay.
yeah,
Mhm.
we'll talk about that.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
sorry, this dude's got the right link here. Ocean uh he says this is the correct link. Actually got it at 8:23. Yeah,
okay.
I messed it all up. I forgot about the for life and all that.
All right, let's take that
Okay.
off.
Yeah,
And
let's do a little business here, man.
all right, so and what's
Sorry, folks.
I can't keep both of them up. What is the URL? Brothers 4, number 4?
No for no Brothers for Life Music
Brothers for Life Music
.bandcamp.com/merch.
.com/merch. Okay, so now we have fixed it.
Thank you, man.
It is now perfect. We're
I presume, man.
we're gonna
He looks like look like a brother.
all right. We got it now. Thank you, Ocean. Appreciate it. Yeah.
All right.
All right. So we'll keep it rolling. So if you guys do like this shirt, this is actually my second one, because I had one and then I sent a picture to Michael. Remember I sent you the text and I was like, my dog ate my shirt.
Oh yeah. Right on, man.
You're like,
Well,
oh,
well, that's true. We did launch it all here. We brought Brothers to you first.
yeah, it was.
And we appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think since we're have a little pause here to talk about that, I know you guys were talking about taking the Brother Show on the road and possibly doing it in other cities. Is that still a potential idea, or?
It's difficult to say, man.
I know it's costly.
Huh?
I know it's costly.
It's costly. It'll probably. I don't know if we could ever afford that lineup. On the road, like with the Steels and everybody. It was.
Oh yeah,
It was. I mean, we kind of pulled out all the stops and did what we could to just make sure it was a spectacular event. Because even when we were building up to it, I was like, I don't know if this is ever going to happen again like this. But I mean, I could theoretically put together a version of. I mean, the core band could probably go. JB and G Sharp and Ash Smash from Stokely's band, and me and Sonny. I would love to take Levi and Mike Scott if I could.
Well, I think if you go to different places where some of the musicians are, because I don't know where everybody lives, but I know there's like a bunch of them that live in LA area, and there's a bunch of there's a core group of members of the Time that, I mean, that's not your era, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that are in Atlanta. I mean, they're kind of all over the place. It seems like it could be like a ever changing. Like there's a funk band called Deep Banana Blackout, and they do that every now and then, where it's kind of like they just got to go somewhere and it's like, we're gonna just pick all these amazing musicians. And I mean, you got enough musicians to work with to make it happen. But
I certainly do. It just and actually, I actually have my booking agent for my band Urban Classic that plays here in town from time to time. We actually have a gig coming up on November 8th at a club called Crooners here in Fridley, Minnesota. And it's just pure soul, the Friday Night Soul Review. And that's me and G Sharp. Tommy Barbarella's in my band also. And
love Tommy.
So I
can't get him to call. I can't get him to reply, because I even talked to him one-on-one. I said, dude, you need to come on the show. It's like, yeah, man, let's do it.
Listen, man.
Goes dark.
Barbarella's the hardest working man in show business. I'm sorry. He's got a job over at a college over in St. Paul. I can't remember which one now, but along with that, he's still doing all his ad work. He's scoring for the Minnesota Orchestra.
Wow.
And, I mean, he's just, and on top of that, he's got 2 teenage daughters. That'll keep you jumping from one foot just by itself.
Yeah.
Jumping from one foot to the other.
Yeah, I got three daughters, and one of them's a teenager, and it's like, whoa, oh boy, yeah, I feel the pain. That part, I've never scored for an orchestra, so I don't.
Barbarella, the sexy enchilada is busy. He's busy maintaining his life, man. So don't be too tough on him now.
Where did the sexy enchilada
term? I think it was G Sharp called him that, or it might have been Morris. I think Morris was calling him, hey, what's going on there, suave bola? And then G started calling, oh, that sexy enchilada, what's going on there, man? These two country dudes just from Arkansas, just making fun of all of us.
Oh my God. All right, let's move on to the next song, which is which one is this? Is it Blue Light? Is that the right? Yeah, Blue Light. Sure. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Let me say, you didn't play on this track either.
I did not. I do know that this track had been around for a minute because Wayne McFarland from Ipso Facto, which is a local reggae band that won like the best unsigned band in the world contest in 1987, I think it was.
Never heard of them.
Ipso Facto, man, they were the bomb. I mean, they still gig from every once in a while now, but in their strong years, I mean, I remember going to the Fine Line Music Cafe and Prince would be there watching them too. So, it's Prince actually pitched that song to Wayne McFarland, the lead singer and the leader of the band. And he was like, I don't know that's not really reggae. I don't know what he's trying to get across here, but I don't, it didn't suit him. So then Prince decided to just finish it and put it out himself. I do remember hanging around the studio one day, and Mike Koppelman, one of the engineers at Paisley, Prince told him to put some bass on this track and finish it up. And so I was there, and he was laying the bass down on Blue Light, and I was like, oh wow. And then I realized like almost every engineer at Paisley had musical background. They could all play something.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's pretty cool. I can't believe it. What kind of relationship do you have? I mean, for to have Prince hand you a song and go, hey, I really would like you to record this. I mean, because it does have a reggae feel. I don't know. I don't know their version of reggae or what, because there's like a lot of different styles of reggae, but I mean, maybe it didn't match. But I mean,
Ipso Facto, it's one of the best bands I've ever seen in my life. At the height of their things moving, I mean, they rocked the Fine Line like they were at the Civic Center. I mean, are they had the best sound, the best lights?
You're speaking past tense, so they're not together anymore.
I mean, it's a different thing now. I'm talking about the late '80s into the '90s. Wayne has done a lot of other things since, and I played with him for a while. And probably would if he called me up, and said, hey, Papa, I got a gig tomorrow down at the, I know all his music. It's all in my head and in my bloodstream. So,
that's pretty cool. Yeah, I could definitely.
No, he's incredible. He's the most incredible unknown artist that I know personally. There's a power in Wayne McFarland. I mean, also he's like the $6 million man. He was supposed to be gone so many times. Half his body has been reconstructed by now.
Why? What happened?
Just things happened. It just kidneys, liver, hip replacement.
He's got new parts now. So. He's
half the 10 man at this point, and he's just still doing gigs, and he's just playing so great, and he's just a rare, a one of a kind sort of dude, man.
That's awesome.
He's incredible.
I'm definitely going to check them out tonight. But as I mentioned before, this is probably one of the songs that was not written about Maite because I don't know that for a fact. It was recorded only a year after he met Maite on the new tour when she was only 16. So she would have been 17 around this time. And not to say that he wouldn't have written a song about her, but it's already talking about the lyrics.
It's highly unlikely, but we don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Who would have questioned anything, right? With
I'm saying, he didn't speak much on any of it. So
right, exactly.
You know what I mean? He just was not the type to just gab and blah 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 blah. It's very, he person to person, he was always just sort of, withdrawn and kind of shy. Like he was very quiet. It was just me and him talking, was different. If there's a room full of dudes, we all kind of, oh, yeah. Dudes get tough around each other.
Right.
But when it was just like me and him just talking about music and like just things, it was a different side of him. It was like Jekyll and Hyde talking to Prince one-on-one and then seeing him on stage. It's like night and day. It's like I didn't see how a person that was so like comfortable on the stage could be so uncomfortable just talking to one person.
That's the same with I think that's the case with a lot of performers. I know my wife says that about me when I'm on stage. Like obviously my personality here is a little bit different when I'm on stage and I'm in the moment and we're doing I'm there doing, singing Marvin Gaye track or singing. I'm like I'm in a zone. I'm like in a totally different space. And I think it's a lot for performers. And if they don't have that, then,
could be.
With music, you got to be.
I'm the opposite. When I get on stage, it's like, okay, it's time to get serious now.
No, you're totally on stage too. No, you're you have.
I look kind of mean on stage, and it's really not. That's not my intention. I'm just really kind of focused on what I'm hearing. You're
taking command.
That's right. Somebody's got to drive this big rig now.
That's right. There you go.
And if I'm not, Perner will turn around and, hey, man, like, come on, bro. I don't want to get cussed out by Dave Perner.
All right, here we go. I Want to Melt with You. That's the next track on this.
Okay, that's another one that I didn't even know it was in the running until I saw the track listing. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, the song used to be called. So this is another track that you were not involved. So I guess he must have like put all these together, but like songs that
sure
you're not. Yeah, I guess
it was a remix for 7, I believe.
It
started out that way.
It was the name of the track was originally called 7 Hours. I Want to Met with You, and that's because I guess that's from that line. I got 7 hours, baby. What you want to do? So it used to be called 7 Hours. I Want to Met with You.
Yeah, but it's even on like the second verse where he starts getting all creepy, talking about like the river of blood and stuff. He's kind of singing the melody to 7.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but it's this one's definitely got a different type of feel to it. It's a great dance track. It's a great whenever for those who don't know, every now and then I will DJ a Prince party. I haven't done one in a long time, but
is that what we need to be doing? We need to be doing like a Prince party / like bring my band down there to Atlanta and like
absolutely let's do
an
it.
all night situation.
Absolutely, yeah. But there's plenty of folks down here in Atlanta. We have a really good huge core group down here in Atlanta. So yeah, we do that. Yeah, it's on. Just
I'm thinking about maybe doing like Chicago, Detroit, Atlanta. Like we could almost. I thought about it at one point. I was thinking about maybe trying to tour like all the city winery venues.
Yeah, the only
try to maybe do a deal with them where I could go from one to the next.
Oh, it'd be a blast. But the only problem with city wineries, there's 2 things with a city winery, is that no matter who's playing, I've seen many bands play. I've seen Sheila E. play at City Winery multiple times.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of bands play. There's no room to dance because there's tables everywhere.
I see.
And so I think a lot of times what ends up happening, how can you watch like a Sheila E. concert and just be sitting there, just kind of watch? It's like, it's not conducive to like a party type of atmosphere. Definitely if we did it, I would, and the other issue is the lighting. For whatever reason, they don't do lighting. They just have like in Atlanta, it's just a set of red lights and white lights and yellow, and that's it. They don't.
Okay, well, we don't want to haze anybody. We'll talk about this separate.
No.
We'll figure out a venue and see what we can do, man.
I'll haze City Winery because I've told them that. I said, dude, make it a party, man.
All right. Well, yeah. Okay.
Relax here, man.
Hey, that's your town, man.
I know.
Can say what you want.
Yeah.
I could dish on Minneapolis if I felt like it, and nobody say nothing.
That's right. You can't.
But that's your town, man. I'm gonna leave that alone, brother.
Well, I will tell you that. Yeah, but if we're gonna have a party, yeah, we need to set it up, and yeah, I would say that would be a great idea. And
let's at least talk about it.
A lot of cool venues. Okay. On I Want to Met with You, though, I will say that and I think somebody else had mentioned this in the chat room too, that this song was played on Playboy's Hot Rocks TV.
Yeah, because there's some nakedness in that video.
Yes, and it was also a much more explicit version of the song too. Apparently, there's like,
Yes.
I tried to find it online, but I didn't want to mess up my search algorithm where I'm like madly closing ads like constantly. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But
that was the only video worse than the I think More Brothers got in trouble over the Rump Shaker video.
Get Off was
Or
another
Get Off. Yeah, Get Off. We used to refer to Get Off as Home Wreckers Week. That was the week that, like it's just naked women everywhere, and everybody's, wives or girlfriends were dropping by. Hey, how's it? What? And then it looks like Caligula, and everybody, I could see everybody getting asked questions. I wasn't with nobody at the time, so, but I saw you, how you were looking at her. Baby, it's a video. What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to what? That was Home Wreckers Week, boy.
Home Wreckers Week. Yeah, I think a lot of stuff that's online right now, it's like could fall into that category of Home Wreckers Week. It's like,
oh sure, things that was tame compared to some of the stuff you can see now.
My gosh, man, these
when I saw WAP, I was like, what?
I was just about to mention that one.
I can't go there.
Yeah,
I mean, I have limits. That was too far for me, man.
It's too much. It's too much.
But I'm 55. I ain't supposed to be.
Yeah, that's right.
At Cardi B, all.
Yeah, with the 68s, man. I'll be 56 in November. So yeah,
okay.
Where it's at, man. It's
yeah. Let them do what they want to do, man. It just leave me out of it, I guess. They didn't ask me for me in the first place.
All right, next song, Sweet Baby. If they didn't have a video for it, or if they didn't have an album cover, I just kind of snatched something from the video. But
yeah.
Did you play in this one?
Yes, I did. That was me, and it was a regular tracking group. It was me and Levi and Barbarella and Prince on piano and
Sonny. Yeah.
Yes, Sonny. Yes. And Kirk must have been there in the booth next to me.
Yeah, I don't know if Kirk is still here, but I'm sure he would tell you. I mean, yeah, obviously he was. But this is a song I was telling you about that was apparently Prince was a fan of Cheers. And for those who don't know, Kirstie Alley, who did the segues on this, she was the reporter throughout this album. And or she played the character, the reporter called but on Vanessa Bartholomew. And she played a character on the sitcom Cheers called Rebecca Howe. And all through that, off and on throughout the sitcom, she would refer to her boyfriend, Robin Colcord, as Sweet Baby. And Prince apparently liked Cheers, and he actually attended a taping of Cheers at some point where he met Allie, and I guess that also must have met him also at the Special Olympics that you had mentioned.
Yeah, it seemed like their first meeting there. I mean, it was like she walked out with like her little crew or little entourage, and they sat like cross-legged on the AstroTurf at the Metrodome while we sound checked, and I didn't see any interaction between her and Prince at that point. She just looked, like in awe. The whole time she was just
like we all were.
Sure. Except for me. It was like, how long is the sound check gonna go? Oh man.
It's a lot. It's definitely a lot. But it's a really, really cool song. And obviously, I don't think this is another one of those tracks that probably didn't have anything really necessarily to do with my tape, but it does still have that ring to it.
Sure. I would agree. It sounded like maybe he had been holding on to it for a hot minute.
Yeah, and I know that the next song that's on the mix is no, it's not Damn You.
It's the Continental.
Yes, the Continental. I don't have an image for that one, but
man, I waited so long for that song to get put in the set. I was like, I'm gonna kill this when we get it. You're ready, when we get ready to go on tour. And I ended up playing it differently. Prince had a different vision for it. I thought we were gonna rock, but it turned into this sort of like kind of James Brownie sort of thing. But
yeah, that's kind of I mean, so it didn't end up being what you wanted it to be live.
I wanted to play it more like the record, but Prince wanted to go up from there, go somewhere from there, and I understood it. But I thought the record sounded so great.
Oh yeah,
Of the Continental, the album version, I was just like, wow, that's gonna really get over live,
and
like
you're
it was like Cream with like extra something, it had that same sort of power.
and you're not listed in the credits on this one.
On Continental.
Yeah, on the credits for it. Well, as far as Prince Vault's concerned, you're not listed on here.
No,
so.
I didn't play on it.
Okay.
I was in the studio at some point. Somebody was recording their overdubs, and that was the first time I'd heard it. And so I was just sort of sitting next to Prince in Studio A while it was going, and I was just like, "Wow!" This was the dialogue in my head was like, "Whatever this is, I can't wait to play this live."
Yeah, I bet.
But Kirk did like Kirk might have done the programming for most of the song.
He did.
But I'm sure that he did the programming for like the whole bit with Carmen Electra when it gets like
right
when it takes a level down. I believe that's all Kirk programming.
Yeah, because Carmen Electra does rap on this, and in '98, actually, so many years later, Kirk actually did a remix of this.
Sure.
Tell Me How You Want to Be Done,
right?
Which was actually included as a final track on the first disc of Crystal Ball.
Yeah, I remember. Mm-hmm.
And apparently there was a pretty sexy video that was recorded of Tell Me How You Want to Be Done that may or may not have starred Carmen Electra. And that rumor was started because apparently in the Crystal Ball liner notes, it said Kirk Johnson was awarded by getting the producer job on Emancipation, and then says a video is available upon clearance from Carmen's conscience. I don't know what that.
Well,
that's how rumors get started.
I can't really speak on that. I know that there was. I think there's in the video of it in the 3 Chains of Gold home video or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a spot where maybe she's got a phone and she's on like a pink or red like cushion or something, and I have some sort of visual recollection of seeing her doing this rap. So maybe they use parts of it in that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah. Again, this is just Prince being his mysterious self and just kind of throwing stuff out there. Just kind of for somebody who didn't like rumors about him, he always loved to just stir the bee's nest. He's like, I'm going to throw this piece in there and then watch out and just see what happens. It's like, you started this.
Yeah.
So because when we start to talk about, when we get down to Sacrifice of Victor, which we're coming up on here, it is the craziness that goes on with that particular song as far as the little pieces and elements are just really weird. Anyways, Damn You, that is the next track on here, man.
Yes. Much like Sweet Baby, it was just like the 6 of us in the studio, and I think that's probably the second pass, and Prince was like, that's cool. And then he asked Sonny, where the turnaround at the end, where Sonny Prince was like, Sonny, I'm gonna punch you in here, man. Play something, show out a little bit right here in this spot. And I think that was the only overdub that happened. He just punched into Sonny's bass track, and Sonny just played the first thing that came to his mind. And Prince was like, oh, cool. All right. Thank you, sir.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I did want to ask you, that kind of itching to ask you this, is that this song actually ended up on one of those NPG audio shows. Remember the NPG Music Club? NPG Music Club always had these, I don't remember, they were monthly, or they kind of seem to be a little bit sporadic, but they would have these audio shows that were normally about an hour-ish, and they would kind of preview little tracks and stuff like that. Episode 4 had Damn You on it. And I wanted to ask, were you ever involved at all in any of those NPG audio shows? When I'm saying it like that, it's spelled AHDIO. So it's audio shows.
No, that wasn't me.
So none of the NPG Music Club stuff you were ever involved in?
I don't remember being involved in anything like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the answer to the question. And that one actually, the song "Damn You" is a great slow song. By the way, it's just, I think it's perfect. It's one of. I'm actually surprised this song is not really celebrated as one of his better, slower songs. I mean, there are people that do recognize it as a really, really great track, but I feel like it's up there with "Do Me Baby," and I feel it's just such a great track, and it's just a great got great catchy lyrics. And
I'm going to admit one thing to you.
Okay.
There's when he goes to the bridge, the first snare drum that I hit on beat 2 is quieter than the ones that precede it, or come after it rather. He was singing in his falsetto. He was kind of singing this one. He didn't always sing while we were recording, but and I reacted to the dynamic. I was about to open up a little further, but he didn't really like step on the gas. And so I played he was singing in his falsetto, and I hit the snare kind of lightly. And then after that first line, I play a little louder. And it's like, that's one of those moments. That's why I don't listen to this music a lot, because I have there's somewhere in my mind, there's just like a really messy closet of mistakes and pivotal points, in the process where it's like, I could have done something different there. I've negotiated this moment on this record many times, and you'll hear it now.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I did the right thing, but at first it seemed so orthodox, and like, I wanted to say something to Prince, but tracking it a third time would have been out of the question. He would have ate me alive. So I didn't say anything, but every time I listen to that song, I'm like, was that right? Did I do the right thing? Like, it's really a question of conscience to me.
Yeah, he apparently liked it, because he
he never said a word, and I never said a word. I was just inside. I was like, what should I have done there? Like, I really beat myself up about it sometimes, and it's just something I have learned to live with. Is that I mean, there's songs on Diamonds and Pearls, like, we recorded Willing and Able, Money Doesn't Matter Tonight, and something else that night. Oh, it was the demo for Five Women for Joe Cocker.
Oh, great song.
We recorded all those songs in this little studio in Tokyo, and I had the stomach flu. So, like when you get that sort of sick where you feel like you're bumping into yourself if you move the wrong way.
Yeah.
I had that for like 2 days before that. And I was just staying in my room, and just not going nowhere, because I didn't know, what I mean? I needed to have my comforts nearby. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
And then Dwayne calls my room at like 11 and says, "Hey, Bobby." They call me Bobby, like after Bobby Blue Bland. "Bobby, we sent in a car for you, man. Be down in the lobby in an hour." I said, "Man, I don't know if I could do it, man. I've been, in my room all day, coming, back and forth from the
Right.
loo." I'm like, "I don't know. We'll be there in an hour," and just hung up on me. So I go, and I'm playing with that sort of physical condition the whole time. It's like, even now when I hear those songs, something inside me is just, I can't shake the feeling.
Well, and again, that's another performer thing where you kind of listen to your material and you're just like, you are your worst critic.
It took me years before I could really listen to these records, in their entirety without, having the need to, just skip certain songs that made me feel some kind of way.
Oh my God. Yeah. I bet that's got to be the worst, the absolute freaking worst, which obviously, of course, that song ends with, we're talking about "Damn You." That song ends with,
that was beautiful. Something she says.
Yeah. Lovers. Yeah. This one's for the whores, whatever it is.
Oh yeah. Well, there's Prince for you.
Right. And then,
you can only serve one master at a time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. You got to break it up. You got to break it up.
Oh man. Somebody's going to try to get me for that one.
So then you got this back-to-back merge of Arrogance and the Flow.
Yes.
And this was really, really interesting to me because for someone who kind of pushed against rap as hard as he did, not really as hard as he did. I think in the beginning when he really didn't understand the social dynamic of what rap was trying to do. He was looking at it through the musician's lens, and like they just take they just they take other people's work and then they make money off of on the backs of blah 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 blah. I had Speech from Arrested Development on the show years ago, and he told me the whole story about what went down with Tennessee.
Well, what did he say? Because I'm curious to know. Because I talked to Prince about that too.
Well, he said that Speech told me, he said, well, what ended up happening was that we obviously just took it because that's what they did back then.
That's right.
You just took it, and
that's what Prince said.
and Prince had an issue with that and brought the band to Paisley Park, and Speech said we were there the whole time, and there was something like a partition or something, or some type of glass partition where he was on one side and Speech was on the other, and Prince just wouldn't talk with him because I guess, I don't know if it was something else going on at the party or whatever, but ultimately what it all shook down was that Prince only made them pay $100,000 for they can continue doing what they were doing, but only charge him $100,000. So he could have, it could have gone totally haywire with the amount of money that they made off of that song, Tennessee specifically, was unbelievable. But I guess there must have been some type of soft spot that he had for what Arrested Development was doing, because for him, they'll say, all right, I'm just going to charge you $100,000 for using the little clip. But to go back to what I was originally saying is that I don't know if he just had a new nuance, a spiritual awakening for what was going on with rap or going on with hip hop, and he realized what was happening. But at this time, this period, like what we were talking about earlier about him feeling like he needed to try to prove something to somebody, and I think hip hop was raging at this point. And for somebody who was pushing against it so hard, this song specifically, buried in the background, had samples from I Know You Got Soul from Eric B. and Rakim, which was done paid in full in 1987. Sorry, this is the name of the song. Niggas for Life by NWA, which was DOC, Dr. Dre, and MC Ren. Obviously NWA. Again, for somebody who was pushing against rap as hard as he was, this is kind of unusual that he's this song in specific is just like layer. Are
we talking about Arrogance?
Yeah, talking about Arrogance and The Flow together. I'm talking about collectively as
The Flow goes all sorts of crazy. There's samples from Scarface in The Flow. There's Speak the English, Tony. And there's also hey Tony. And there's also excuse me for this one, but it's a where is Bindeco? That dude. And there's also like there's one more. Oh, wait a minute. That dude, that
so much. And there's like so many clips and stuff that's going up. But again, that kind of goes to my point. For somebody who was pushing against sampling so hard, man, he just went all in this duo of songs. It was just like,
I think Tony gave him a lot of confidence to go ahead and, just play with it. Like you don't have to do what everybody else is doing, but you have to acknowledge it as a form.
Obviously,
I would argue that Prince was always playing with the spoken word anyway, all the way back to People Call Me Rude. Like I think, that whole thing on sexuality where he starts talking about tourists and inventors of the AccuJack and all that. He was always playing with language. It wasn't really rap, but even what is it? Whatever you heard about me is true. I changed the rules, do what I want to do. He just it was all there for the taking. He just didn't find anything he really liked about it for a while, And also, being a musician, just like anybody else, you're looking through a certain aperture. You're looking through a certain lens at things, from the perspective of what you like or what you're capable of, you know?
You don't think
And,
you don't feel like with all the sampling and stuff that he was doing, regardless of whether it came from Kirk or not, that there may have been, don't get mad, Prince fans, that there may have been a little bit of pandering to the rap audience?
I mean, if you want to take it there, we can go all the way there.
I mean,
Bruh.
it's just a question.
I
I
mean,
mean, we had to go. Hold on.
let's discuss this, because this is
Okay.
a conversation that
Right.
I've had with a few other people, that they even look at, you know, the complexion of the band changing at that particular juncture and going,
Correct.
okay, Prince is trying to show his black side now.
Right.
Like, the whole thing was this orchestrated thing to pander to the black community. I mean, let alone we had to be able to play the way we played, you know, and understand his vision. I mean, it's like, it's you know, Prince always did things on his own terms. That's all I can really say. And I don't remember him ever doing anything to please anybody but himself. You know, I mean, his music says that he was self-indulgent, you know, as an artistic person. Like, he felt that his responsibility began with making the record and ended when the record was finished. After that, you can do whatever you want, you know, which is why he felt comfortable blaming his record label when records didn't sell so well. He's like, what do you expect me to do about that? I gave you the product. Now, if you've mishandled it, or, you know, if you've this or that, and part of me agrees completely with it. But, you know, I think that even I told somebody recently, I was at Paisley when Tupac's people called to try to get clearance for 777-9311. And Prince came down. I don't remember where I was at, but he started talking to me about it. He's like, I don't dislike all rap. Some of it I like a lot, but, you know, I have to really consider how my music is going to be used in the future, and how my music is going to be used even now. It's like, I can't rep for everybody, you know, and I'm the steward of my own catalog, more or less, you know. Right. So he liked Tupac, from what I remember. I remember when who was it? I just saw them on Tiny Desk concert. Cypress Hill. He was walking around, how I could just kill a man. I love that. That track's hot. So he liked what he liked, and he didn't like what he didn't like, you know. Yeah. I mean, Elvis he just break into that sometimes, you know?
Yeah. I mean, have you did you hear the alternate version where they were like, Michael B's in the house? Like, they had like that whole entire segment. Let me see if you've ever heard this. I don't know if I can this will play or not. Let me see if I can play this. This is a version. I'm about to play an alternate version of the flow that actually you may have heard this. Let's see. Hold on a second. And hopefully you guys can hear it. Okay, hold on.
Rock the house.
Tony.
Yo.
What we gonna do now?
Rock to the upper low W.
How?
Just like you're supposed to.
MPT Max Attack.
1, 2.
That's Rosie.
Yes.
Wait till the microphone.
Let's go forget the fun. I just begun my run. I'm bringing hundreds like a loaded gun. I'm a big the differences mental. Break it down, let me kick the Continental. Strong will since the day I was born. In the flow, but I'm bumping the norm and I'm making it. One of them making it. Wannabes in the hood, kicking back, talking shit. He ain't nothing. Gotta have a hole in a system that's pumping. Fool, that's what they want you to think. Another pump caught in the bureaucratic kick, and I ain't happening. I work too hard. Hold me down. I'm just broke up. It's this to show my Dr. Bro. You say you want some more? Kick it up, B. Kick the flow. What you're supposed to do.
That's the Michael part.
Just like you're supposed to do. You take a man, son, you are unaware. To make it to see takes a certain flair. Critics to balance and view.
Anyways, there's it can kind of go a little bit long, but there's like a whole segment where it's like, Michael B is in the house. Michael B is in the house.
Sure.
It's like so much stuff. I mean, I just, I kind of always wonder, do you feel some sort of way with call outs that you get in songs, or do you even care?
No,
like-
I mean, he said my name more than he said anybody's name in the history of his career. He was saying Michael B all the time. And a lot of people don't know. Did I tell you that story, how that happened?
No.
I was messing up on the nude tour, man. We got to Wembley Arena, and and for some reason Prince was saying, "Good God," and I wasn't coming in some of the time. I don't know why my brain was just kind of pushing it out. I can't even explain to you what it was about. And then Prince finally said, "All right, here's what we're gonna do." And it was at sound check before the first show at Wembley Arena. He said, "I'm gonna say your name. I'm gonna say Michael B. And I'm gonna tell the tour accountant that if he hears your name over the PA and don't know music come in, to dock your pay. All right, let's try it." He said, "Michael B." And I never missed it again. If I could hear it, that's how I'm sure he had to stop saying that by the time I was out of the band. He had to use something else. I was gone, but all night, Michael B. Pap. Yeah,
I
man.
love the Tommy Barbarella story. My favorite story I didn't hear until we were on the Celebration. And Tommy, I don't remember what album or what tour it was or whatever, but payday came, and and Tommy got the check, and it was only half of what he expected. And then he went to ask somebody, I don't remember whoever was running financials at the time, said, why is this where it was? And Prince was like, because he was only playing with one hand.
Oh man. Am I paying for two hands or one?
Right. He's only paying for one hand, so he only gets half pay.
Oh man, that is funny.
That did not just happen.
You know what? Yeah, he could be funny like that, man. But I'm remembering the time we on the Act One tour, we played in Toronto, I think it was. And during the afternoon, Tony, Damon, and Kirk got like Blue Jays jerseys. They went and purchased them for themselves. We used to have a thing called Funk Night. And
right. I heard about that.
Yeah, Funk Night was whoever's the funkiest, whoever's the baddest, whoever pulls the biggest, stunt, you get like $500. And they came out on the encore with their Toronto Blue Jays jerseys on, and the audience went crazy. And we're in the dressing room after the show, and Prince said, "All right, tonight, the cash prize goes to the Game Boys, but I'm taking it back because you didn't get me a jersey."
Of course,
you should have got me one. The biggest rule was don't upstage the boss. If you're gonna go, you're gonna have to be, you have to, let him in on it. So,
oh my word,
yeah, it's
that sounds like a typical Prince story for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I told somebody it was a lot like playing Simon Says for a living.
It's a great analogy.
Yeah. Like, just do what he say. Oh, wait a minute. Simon didn't say. Wait a minute. He didn't. Oh, okay.
All right. Here it is. The big track on the album. Probably one of the bigger tracks. 7. Oh yeah. My gosh, man. Okay. This track. I still, there's still, I guess, some controversy about what he's actually singing about. I mean, obviously the go-to is the 7 trumpets of the apocalypse, but I think this is another sample song. Obviously, the drum loop was sampled from Tramp, from
Lowell Fulson.
Fulson and Jimmy McCracklin, and which also performed by Otis Redding too. He also did this song. But so I'm trying. Let me pull up this track because I really want to see is this the normal group O folks on this track, or is this is all Prince? And
oh no, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't have anything to do with it. Definitely, it's the first time I heard the song was probably when I got a copy of the record. I mean, heard that version. He had started working on it, and he sort of taught it to us at a sound check. So I knew it was a song he was working on at least, but I didn't have anything to do. He didn't use the band in the recording.
Yeah, it's and again, it's a super popular track, but it's also one that was heavily the one that he used as far as the Lowell Fulson track is used by hip hop artists. I mean,
Sure.
you're just talking about How I Could Just Kill a Man, Cypress Hill. They used that drum
Sure.
track on that song. And
well,
also,
here's the thing: is that I mean, Tony and also Levi. Levi was into all of it. Levi loved rap. He loved hip hop. You know, so I mean, sometimes he'd be like, Prince, you ain't heard this. You know, he'd make Prince feel like he was out of step. Sometimes, man, you ain't heard that, man. You know, oh man, that's hot, Prince. You ain't heard Rump Shaker, Prince. Oh, you got to hear that. You know. So, I mean, like I'm saying, it's his environment, you know, with Tony, you know, basically doing the same thing. Pete, you ain't heard so-and-so, man. No, it's fat. You should pick this up, man. So it wasn't, he had two people who were curating this to him, you know, more or less. But he was also spending a fair amount of time in not only his club, but other clubs around the country. So, I mean, it wasn't like Prince was the ultimate student.
yeah,
it had to do with what he preferred to do or not do, but he knew about it all, you know?
Yeah, and he would go, I mean, and back and forth. I mean, not only was he a student, but he was a great teacher too, because he would
Absolutely.
It's like, you know, let's sit down with the Tower of Power library and let me show you some stuff.
Listen, he did that for me, man. Sometimes they'd start talking about records I never heard of, and he'd say, oh, you got to stay after school. And the rest of the band would leave rehearsal. And I'd go to Studio A with Prince, and he'd have his housekeeper he'd get on the phone and bring over an album called Graham Central Station. You should find it in the, he'd tell her where she could find it. Also, there's another record by the same band called Mirror. And also there's one called Ain't No Bout a Doubted. Yes, that's what I said. And also Bring Fresh by Sly and the Family Stone. It's white with it. And I'd sit in Studio A and he'd DJ for me and just kind of run everything down, man. I mean, that's
cool.
That's probably my favorite Prince that I like to remember, because he was teaching purely for pleasure's sake. I mean, he turned me on to so many records. The first time I heard Player of the Year by Bootsy, Prince made the engineer, he's like, I got a vinyl copy. I'll make a cassette for you. So he made the engineer make the cassette copy of Player of the Year. I'm at home getting my mind blown listening to this. He really was so generous in that respect, at least towards me, you know.
Well, I think, you know, when you're as passionate about a topic as he was, specifically about music, he loved to really kind of teach people really where his core influences came from. Yeah, you mentioned Graham Central Station. You knew that was going to happen with Larry Graham and Sly and the Family Stone. I mean, he designed a band.
Yeah, well, Levi and Miko are from the West Coast, so they, you know, that's all the funk they came up on. And like, you ain't never heard Hair? And then Levi start playing it, you know, and then Miko starts playing the, you know, the rhythm guitar part. I'm like, what? No, I've never heard this. And Prince just looking at me like,
wow,
I need to hip you to what's, you know, what this is really about, you know.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I could see why that would be a favorite moment, because it's intimate moments between you and him, and just, you know, just vibing on music, and just, I mean,
yeah,
it's gotta be nothing better. There's only one person that I would love to do that with, and that would be Questlove. Questlove, he has a room that's probably about the size of my office, and it's like literally the whole entire wall from top to bottom is our albums, just kind of like what I have behind here, but it's like thousands of them. And he has like all the labels memorized, and he could tell you exactly who produced what and who was on. I mean, it's just, I mean, to be able to have that level of knowledge and that level of mental retention, and just kind of be able to just bless somebody with, you know, knowledge, and actually take you.
I'm fighting the impulse to get petty right now.
Okay. Petty, go do it.
Because isn't he the same dude who said he stopped listening to Prince like in like 1988 or whatever? Like the 90s, where it's like, I didn't really listen to those guys. I
don't remember him saying that. He may have.
Well,
he may have.
I do. I do.
I don't remember that at all.
You know, obviously that might make me feel some kind of way. I actually haven't seen him for many years, but you know, even when the Diamonds and Pearls box set came out, he was, you know, like he did a little thing on Instagram, and it seemed like he was throwing a little bit of shade. Now, I talked to Barbarella also, and a couple other people. It's like, what is he getting at exactly by saying like, well, if the Diamonds and Pearls record, you know, sounded like the live recording, I mean, that's they should have used that for the record, you know. And let me just clarify: I know for a fact that he and D'Angelo listened to "I Hate You" more than once from the Gold Experience, because they both told me on the phone one time how impressed they were about it. So, you know, it's a, you know, he apparently it's new to him that we were any good at all, apparently.
I see somebody that said that Joni just said recently stated they just discovered that MPG was a good band. I mean, well, and here's the thing. I think he's let me just say this. I'm not defending him at all, but I do know
cool.
people felt that way, because a lot of people felt that way, as not any slight to you guys, but when you got used to the type of music and what he was doing in the 80s, that shift in the 90s, and it may have not just been anything that had to do necessarily with the music, because the show, in my opinion, in the 90s, the shows just got stronger and stronger and more powerful, and the music was more layered and much more, there was so much more going on. He was growing as an artist, and it was, I don't have any problems with any of that stuff. It was fantastic. But I do know from a general public perception, we heard a lot of that. It was just like, oh, he's trying to rap now. Oh, he's doing this and doing that. And it was discounting all the effort and everything that you guys were doing, which was like, no. Just, you need to take a step back and really listen to what's going on here.
We had a different fight on our hands. Like, at the time the revolution was complete, like with Wendy, you know, they were already, you know, headed in a specific direction. Everybody knew Prince was headed for mainstream success. We caught Prince at the end of the decade when he was struggling to find a new voice in this, you know, world of grunge and, you know, and gangster rap and all of that. I mean, we had a far more Herculean task, I think, than they did. We never got the proper credit. I don't want to pull the race card, but, you know, I don't know if that had something to do with it or not. You know, what would have been the credit for you guys? The recognition, the audience sizes, what the album sales, what defines credit, as you just Second Life.
Okay.
Prince could have been done at the end of the 80s.
True. And they've constantly counted him out all the time.
Absolutely. Now, you know, Batman was, you know, that was a nice little, you know, he got tossed a little lifeline there, but he still had to figure out what he was going to do after, you know?
Yeah. I got a couple of people that are in the chat room that are agreeing with you about it being a race thing. But what, if you look at, well, you know, Batman was pretty much just himself. It was like, there was no, I never even thought about that aspect of it until you just said it. No joke.
Okay, but this is the other thing. This was the first time that it was actually the same band recording these songs in the studio with him as it was the band on tour.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like there were enough of us, you know. There were, he did not always use his band members. Even with us, sometimes he didn't. But I think that somebody said that after their research, they discovered I was the most recorded other person in Prince's career as far as the sidemen go. And side people, rather. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know, and so I guess what I'm saying is that when Prince turned in a more sort of R&B direction, I suppose, and stopped, you know, being so strange, you know.
Yeah, I can see that.
Really, New Power, that's what we were, man. I mean, we chased away all that weirdness and all that, you know, all those ghosts and, you know, ghosts and goblins that he was living with on a daily basis. Just Rosie alone, you know. Like, how can you be Man, listening, hearing her sing can change your whole energy.
Did you mention it, or I'm trying to keep up with all these kind of, because we've obviously swatted a bee's nest.
I'm just saying, hey, listen, I'm just saying,
well,
first off, Quest shouldn't be saying he didn't know nothing about what happened in the 90s, because he did. So
no, because he's our age. So yeah,
he may have agreed or disagreed with what Prince was doing, but you can't tell me that you can go from being such a fan to completely just, I don't want to hear it. Especially not with his own admission of, man, that fill on, I Hate You, where you go past the bar line, man, that's the, like, he's listened. He might have not have liked it all, but he knew what was going on,
What do you feel like is a thought process of what was recorded versus the live show? There is a very, 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 very different dynamic live, like there is with all bands. Well, not all bands. There's a lot of bands you see, and it's just like, oh, that's just like the album. That was not the case with you guys. With you guys, there was a very very distinct, clean sound. The albums were mastered hot, but when you guys went live, oh dude, you guys, that was the monster. There was no comparison. There was no better band.
You're right.
Story.
There really wasn't.
End of story.
There really wasn't. And I'm saying yay for us. I'm not trying to single myself out. I'm just saying a band of that caliber and Questlove being a musician and he can't appreciate that. It don't make sense to me. It make sense, man.
Yeah, I think, well, you're also talking about somebody that was in his 20s and doing his own thing with hip hop and everything else. So I think that may have been a component to it as well, because again, you had a Prince, you had the whole rap thing that we've already been talking about. So there may have been a component there. Who knows? But
some people really hold on to that 80s period like it's like their life depends on it. I get that. There are fans who, I don't really know what he did after Kiss. I didn't know. But Quest is a musician, and he's also kind of being touted as being a historian of sorts.
Right?
How are you going to just emit or omit? How are you just going to emit?
He's emitting.
Yeah, he's emitting. Yeah, you can't just emit all the records Prince did, after 1989 just because you don't like him.
Right. Yeah.
If you got respect for him as an artist, then you're going to respect the fact that he's got to keep growing and expanding. And at that point in his career, he really needed to do something that people could get to. He couldn't keep being weird for, the fans that were holding on to, the new wave Prince. New wave Prince was gone. We had to have new power Prince.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
not beefing, but I need to speak in defense of my dudes and my and my era, really. And I was sure that once this DVD comes out, everybody's going to know the truth, And he still managed a way to kind of pee on it a little bit.
Right.
You don't listen. You're blessed with him. That's cool. I'm just saying what I got to say, man.
No, and you're not going to get any argument for me. I absolutely have witnessed and know people that are exactly like Questlove was, where they once after Batman soundtrack, they tuned out. A lot of the people tuned out, and they tuned out again at the end of the 90s. They tuned out.
Yeah.
Some people started coming back around, and then they tuned back in, and then
it happens. And I'm not saying it's not his prerogative to do so. What I'm saying is that
you guys are badass and deserve better.
That's right. I mean,
end of story. There you go.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah, we can keep moving. This is not really the subject of the cast.
No, I'm not saying end of story like we're done with this conversation. I'm saying that's the point. That is the point. You guys were badass and deserved. Now I get a full picture of what you were talking about, what you meant by.
Yes, it's one thing to step on a rocket ship that's already fueled up and ready to go. Right. It's another thing to start from scratch with just scrap metal and like we really did something. We got him back on the chart.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he got himself back up on the chart with our help.
Yeah, I mean,
So
that's
anyway,
good to get to the definition of what you meant by credit. And
I
thank
didn't mean to get so irritated, man. But
no,
it's
that's great because it's deservedly so. Because I would be annoyed as hell if I was putting out a superior product and knew that it was better than anything else that's out there, or comparatively from the product that was before, and to not get any recognition for what you're doing. That's absolutely, I would feel some sort of way, and I would still be ranting.
And honestly, you don't have to dig everything Prince did. I didn't dig everything he did. You know,
right?
It's like I understand that, but it's just if you're going to be placed in a position, or if you're going to claim the position of being, this is what I know about all of this, and I know about all of that. Like you don't have you can't afford to not know what has happened, or or what did happen.
Yeah, agreed.
That's not even smart.
Yeah, agreed. That's
okay.
All right, let's go.
If you want to have Quest on, we can have it out on Funkatopia.
Oh, I've reached out to him. Matter of fact, I tried to. They just played. The Roots just played here in Atlanta. Or just like a couple nights ago, this past weekend.
I mean, ultimately, it's all love, really, man. I'm just saying, it's like
I would love to. If I get him on the show, I would love to have you guys talk it out.
Yeah, let him speak. I'm curious to see what he has to say.
Great. Oh my God, that would break the internet.
I don't know if it would do that. I'm just saying, it's like I feel bad about speaking on it without him actually being here to defend himself. But I just kind of had to make that clear. Like, listen, that was not easy, for Prince or any of the rest of us. It's like we had our talent, but I mean, still, Prince had to have the vision. I mean, for a song like Diamonds and Pearls, he was like, how can I make the most out of all this new energy coming through my body? Like Diamonds and Pearls is on par with like something from Queen. You know what I mean? It's like, it's an expansive piece of music. And, Rosie is killing it. I did what I could, it's like, there's a lot going on there. I mean, I remember Jesse Johnson is the one who pointed it out to me. He's like, man, when I heard Diamonds and Pearls, it was like Prince was doing it was almost like prog rock or something. It's like he really Jesse heard it and was like, yeah, man, go for it. Expand,
That's what needs to happen. So
yeah, that's what needs to happen.
Amir, the challenge is out there. Amir, I'm not
challenging him. I'm just saying, like, that's how I feel, man.
I'm talking about challenge. It's like, let's hear your side. Let's hear your side.
If he wants to speak on it, I'm happy to listen. But he doesn't owe me anything. He's just another, one of us in the world doing what he's doing. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, we only got 3 more tracks to talk about in this, and we're good. And God Created Woman.
Oh yes,
we're gonna get back to the Love Symbol album. So this obviously this song is really kind of done in the from the view of Adam. It's obviously to the Adam and Eve.
Sure.
And there's like a really weird backstory that I was not aware of. There's a 1956 Roger Vadim film called And God Created Woman, same title as this song. Obviously way before that. Original French title, it doesn't really matter.
Right. I know something of this, actually.
Launched the career of Vadim's then wife, Brigitte Bardot. And Vadim is also the director of the film Barbarella, from which Prince took great inspiration. And he sampled that movie in Space, the song Space, mentioned it on the segue of this album, and also used clips from it in the Get Off video. I mean, it's pretty amazing how much. So what's your perspective on this?
Wow. I mean, I think it was maybe the first take for me.
First take for that you performed
on the drums. Yeah. I remember we learned it and he was like, okay, let's try to cut one. And something ran through my body and just made me just kind of take over. I mean, I get kind of greedy on the outro, man. I'm playing a bunch of fills that Prince didn't ask for, and I was like, okay, well, at least I got it out. And he was like, okay, sir. Well, thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow at rehearsal. And he sent me away,
He said great drumming incantation at the end. Yeah. Yeah, it's a standout for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's
a great song. I mean, what can you say? I think Margaret Cox, when Prince played it for Margaret, she was like, "Oh, this sounds like the Stylistics or something." Like like it gave her like Stylistics vibes.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I could see that. I could definitely
Uh-huh.
see that. All right, this is interesting one. 3 Chains of Gold. All right, so this was loaded but not loaded.
Well, yeah. Speaking of Queen,
Yeah, right. Comic book. The comic book on it. I don't know if I still have it. I think I gave it to a Patreon supporter.
oh, the comic book.
Yeah, there was a comic book. There's also the home movie with a VHS. Actually, just so you guys know, after the show, you can actually go to YouTube and type in Prince 3 Chains of Gold movie, and there's somebody that uploaded a VHS of this. So if you've never seen this movie, it's kind of interesting. It's obviously the whole thing is about Maite being a princess in Cairo or some Egyptian place, and Prince meets her after her father is assassinated by 7 mysterious men who leave behind 3 chains of gold or 3 chains of turn or whatever. And she sends him a video and he falls in love with her. And it's a whole thing. And of course you got the movie itself. So were you involved? How much do you remember about the movie itself?
Really, honestly, I just remember us being in Japan and having a camera crew kind of following us all around. And we were sort of prompted to discuss, the situation between Maite and Prince. And, it's like, it was, didn't really have a context we didn't really understand what was going on. We just did what we were told, man.
Yeah, that's the vibe that kind of, and look, he's wearing green on the cover of this.
So, I mean, yeah, really, we're just, okay, we're gonna just, film you guys walking up the street in Tokyo, and, then, oh, let's go in here. And, intermittently, hey, what do you guys think about this situation with Prince? Like, it's, you think there's really something going on between them? And, trying to sort of like prompt us for, questions. And I think we were supposed to be intentionally provocative,
Right.
So, that's,
yeah.
And then I finally saw the whole thing in its entirety. They gave us all copies of the VHS at some point. And I was like, oh, okay. So this is how this all works.
They figured out a way to kind of piece all of our random discussions into some semblance of a storyline.
Sort of. I mean, but it really was just like the Prince is fascinated with this woman. Why is he like he's different? He's it's he's.
Now, are you saying that in guise of the movie or in real life?
No, that's what we were saying in the movie.
Okay, no, I didn't know if you felt that way in real life.
Oh, boy's tripping. Yeah, I wonder why. It's that girl. It's that like a Dolomite movie or something.
It's like,
what's the matter with Cuz? I don't know, man. He's tripping. That girl's all in his hair.
At least it wasn't like the Madhouse movies.
No, it was not like that. But
like
still, we didn't really. Clearly, we didn't have any acting chops.
Oh yeah,
we just kind of went with it, and we did. Who knows? He may have just, Prince often would just embark upon things, and he'd take them as far as they could go. Really, even in the studio, he would approach everything with a certitude. Like the thing about Prince, the one of the main takeaways was just, you'd be surprised at what you can accomplish if you believe in yourself. Really, like he was a model of hard work and ingenuity, and just always on his square. You know what I mean? Like it, just on business.
Yeah.
And if he in the studio, if we started working on a song and it wasn't coming together, in a way that he was into, he'd just say, we're going to move to something else. And he'd go through his notebook and we'd start working on a different song. Like if he ever second guessed himself, he just turned back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's at least he knew enough to do that. I mean, but there was
Yeah.
it's like there was a lot of projects though that
Oh,
seemed
sure. Some things may may have been better,
like
left in the vault. Who knows? You don't have to clear all everything in the vault now.
I'll
Uh,
come later, right. Yeah. All right, I'll come back later to that one, maybe.
uh,
All right, last song on the album is The Sacrifice of Victor. Now, this is such a weird track. This is obviously, the closing track, but I think this is kind of where some of the weirdness happened with the name change. He hadn't done it at this point yet, but it was about to happen. It was about to happen, but he also caused a lot of confusion, opening up this album with "My Name Is Prince" and then closing it with what did he say?
Sacrifice of Victor.
He said, "When I reach my destination, my name will be Victor."
Yeah.
So, and then apparently these graphics are not coming through yet. It's coming through black. Let me share my screen because I want to. This is how crazy some of the Prince fans are. Okay, no offense, you guys, but some of you guys are just.
It's not nice to call them crazy, man.
I'm not saying they know who they are.
All right, I'm just saying the term "crazy" is people,
let me just say
people feel some kind of way these days. It's dismissive.
I'm not trying to be dismissive at all. Some of these things are reaching.
Some of these people, they have, and I know who the ones you are talking about.
Right.
And God bless them. They just vibrated at a little different frequency than the rest of us. Exactly. And that's okay.
That's correct. So here's the symbol. Okay. So the Sacrifice of Victor, somebody had actually, I don't know what had happened or whatever, but they also said to themselves, "Oh, Victor is in the symbol." And I was like, okay, what are you talking about? All right. Well, there's the V there at the bottom. There's the I in the middle.
All right.
There's the C right there on the curved arm of the symbol. There's the T in the middle. Obviously, the O was obviously most obvious, and then the R. So this is what I guess, I don't know, whoever came up with this took it, ran with it, and it became a thing. So it ended up they kept saying, "Oh, well, if he's changing his name must be Victor," which led to him saying several times during the Act 2 tour, "My name ain't Prince and it damn well ain't Victor."
Sure.
So this, I guess, to kind of circle back around this, well, let's just hear your thoughts first.
Oh no, I mean, what I'm thinking about right now is I buried Paul. That's what I'm thinking about. That if you have an active imagination, you can get there. Like, who is it? Somebody said he's not saying I buried Paul. He's saying cranberry sauce at the end of Strawberry Fields Forever.
Right. I can't remember what the original thing was. Right.
Yeah. So I'm just saying I never heard anything like that. As a matter of fact, until one day at rehearsal, I thought that it was just something Prince was trying to do to get out of his contract with Warner Brothers. And I said, "Hey, Prince." And he turned around and he ice grilled me, man. He said, "Don't call me that name. When you say that name to me, it's like it's calling me a swear word." I said, "Oh, okay. All right." And from then on, it would be like, "Excuse me, sir. Hello, hey, man."
Yep. That's one of the Q&As that we have is post name change. How did you address him?
That's how we That's how we talked to him. Hello. That was Sunday. I think it was hello.
So you couldn't even okay. That's
and somebody started calling him boss. He's like, "Don't call me." He didn't like that either.
Wow. That seems like a lot.
It's a lot.
It's got to be difficult to just. That's gonna be difficult.
Well, to deal with somebody who is, takes very seriously things that may be frivolous to some.
Right.
You just didn't know when you might be in danger of offending him because you didn't really know what his motives were, and he didn't feel like explaining it. So. It was like I said, it was a bit like playing Simon Says for a living, man. I'm telling you.
Oh my God. Yeah, I bet. All right. So we were able to make it through.
Touch your toes. I didn't say Simon. Oh, what are you doing?
Actually, there's a couple more things. Obviously, I guess it was a clip from God Made Me Funky by the Headhunters that was in here too.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's like a lot of different things that are being used in this song, but that's it. We've made it through every single song on the Love Symbol album. So you guys have successfully made it
And
through.
I should say also that I didn't play on it. I think I might be credited on somebody credited me for playing on it, but that's not me. That's programming.
Well, I mean, Sacrifice of Victor.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think yes, you are credited. It's got everybody. It's credited. You,
Sure.
Sonny, Levi, Tommy, obviously the Game Boys, Tony Kirk and Damon, and then of course,
Sure.
Variation of the Hornheads, Michael B. Nelson, Jensen's, Gallagher, Snarand.
Yeah, and I did see somebody also asking, like, were there any tracks on the Love Symbol album that Rosie had vocals on that might have been taken off?
Yeah, that was from Jeremy's question. Said, was Rosie's vocals removed from any of the songs off of this album?
Sacrifice of Victor would be the one.
Which is, it seems like if anything is going to stay, that would seem
Rosie?
like, yeah, it would seem like why would you take that off?
I mean, because she had decided to move on.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And she's like, she hung as long as she could, man. And she watched Carmen Electra's record come out. She watched, Diamond and Pearl put out, get 51 hours out. And what else was there? I think Maite's the Child of the Sun record or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
Rosie was watching a lot of people, get theirs before she was going to get hers. And I understood where Prince was at, because you have somebody who's so great, but you're also afraid of losing them. It's like, I get it. She was so rare, man. I mean, and he understood how great she was. And I think that he was being selfish, and trying to make her stay. And he, at some point she just, she's like, Prince, I'm not getting any younger. I need to do this now, and finally, Motown offered her a record deal, and she went for it, and I mean, I think the reason why the Love Symbol album is a lot more like bold and kind of cocky, is partly that he felt he had something he needed to prove, that he could keep going without her. She was a big part of Diamonds and Pearls,
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And to lose somebody like that, I mean, you're gonna feel it. She was incredible. And Prince never let anybody sing that much on his stage in his whole career. That's how much he loved her and loved her voice and what she was bringing, man. It was like church every night. The encore, we get into it, and Rosie, you got it, Rosie. And she come out there, and doing her thing. And she just, man, she might be my favorite singer of all time,
Yeah, she's,
I mean,
there's nobody that did it like she did it. It's just unfriggin' real.
I'll tell you what, though, when Prince played some of Margie Cox's record for Rosie, Rosie said, "That's a white girl singing." That's a white girl. So
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I've been around some good singers. Margaret Cox is also one of them. For years, I was trying to get Shaka to hear Margaret, but it just never happened.
Yeah, it's just but she's still killing it. She's still doing it to this day. It was
still doing it. God bless her, man. But you know how many people there are in this city like Margaret who just they're marginalized by their environment. I mean, there's no music industry still, not really in Minneapolis. Some people are trying to do things now, but it's it just was. I saw Jimmy Jam talking about this recently. He's like, there was nothing for us. There was nobody was going to throw us any kind of lifeline here. We were just stuck in this tundra, So we had to work hard. We had to break through. We had to get it,
Yeah, and I mean, and back in the 80s, once Prince broke, the record companies and the label artists, and not the label artists, but the reps would come and just descended upon Minneapolis to see what they could find, and there was like so many.
Sure.
But that came and went quick.
It did. They got the replacements. They got Soul Asylum. They got they got Husker Du.
A lot of spin-offs. Obviously, I mean, the time came with the package deal with Prince, but you also
we forget that Giorgio was cutting while. Don't forget about Giorgio now.
Dog on Giorgio now.
Oh man, Lover's Lane. Come on, bro.
That debut album was really good. I like
somebody who I met somebody who worked like A&R for Giorgio. He said, man, when Giorgio performs, women throwing panties on the stage, man. I it's crazy.
Oh my God. What did Michael think of the Diamonds and Pearls Super Deluxe Edition? I
thought it was great. Like I said, I thought we were finally going to get our due. That people are going to stop, snubbing us and saying that, well, really, the revolution is the gold standard. And yeah, they did go to the moon and back. I'm not dishing on anybody who hung with Prince for any amount of time, because you really had to be in it for the right reason, and you had to be ready to work hard. So it's just, it's I can, plus hit movie, hit soundtrack. I got you. I understand. But if that's where you want to leave it, then you're really you're being reductive about all the things that Prince was able to do and the different ways he was trying to express himself. I would say this. If you want to relegate yourself to that period in his career, I don't even know if I'd call you a real fan. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I can see that, because a lot of people, but again, that's the same thing. There's a lot of people that signed off. A lot of people signed off in '89, and because of the fact that
we didn't need them
playing it, the radio, but the radio changed too. They weren't spoon feeding the public the stuff that was out there. I mean, every now and then you might hear. I mean, it just wasn't the same. It was a totally different format. Yeah.
That's true.
It wasn't because of the fact that the music was bad. It's just it wasn't. It was fantastic, and it was and again, if you saw you live, there was undeniable. It's like, holy cow.
Yeah, you know what I meant to say earlier, that I want to make an addendum.
Okay.
The Sign of the Times Love Sexy Band, they were the bomb. I thought that band was incredible.
They were.
I just want to say that, so I don't,
yeah. Oh, I mean, he didn't have a weak band, but every band was
never.
Yeah. Every band was very, very different. I mean,
people try to talk smack about a Third Eye Girl. I will say this: I think Prince played his best guitar. His best guitar work was in that period with Third Eye Girl. He was playing stuff I'd never heard of. His vocabulary as a guitar player was going just off the chart.
Yeah,
he was incredible during all of that.
Him and Donna Grantis together, those two were like, just stop it. And I'm not talking about Plectrum Electrum. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about some of the other stuff that is out there that you guys probably you can find on YouTube. Menstrual Cycle and Octopus Heart and all that stuff that's out there. There's so many amazing, just like, what is happening?
See, who is this dude, John Wesley Payne?
He's been here all day.
I think he's an insider. Because he said some things now that I'm like, hold on, man. Do I know you? I bet I know him. If I don't know him.
He made a comment earlier saying to thank you for letting him sit in with one of the bands or something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, John, repost that comment that you repost that comment that you made.
Tia just said he is an insider. Okay. That's all right.
All right. Let me ask you this, because this is a question that I've been kind of going nuts about. All right. I want to talk about your performance, not just your performance, but the performance in general about Dolphin on David Letterman show. I'm just going to play this little clip. It's not going to be the whole thing. Just this little clip.
All right.
All right. So what I had heard, and you can confirm or deny that.
No, I'm cracking up because that's Coco coming out to grab him. Coco was a funny dude. I think he was from Compton, and they hired him like mid tour to join security, and then he ends up being the one that goes out there to grab his dead body off the floor at the Letterman show.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, I was looking at John Wesley's thing. He said, I played Guitar Player magazine with the Revolution. So he played guitar with the Revolution. He also he said something else earlier too.
I was thanking Kirk earlier for letting me sit in with his band at Jasmine's back when Prince set it up for me to jam. Yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah. So he's a little bit sorry. Okay, so on the Dolphin scenario, I heard he was ticked off at David. I think actually Morris Hayes told this story basically, that he was ticked off that David was making snide comments about the name change or whatever.
Oh, right. You break one of these off and you get a burst of flavor. I remember hearing that from the drums. I'm like, what is he saying? Yeah. And something else he said about here to promote his new album, is the artist formerly known as Prince. He's here promoting the record tonight. The release date apparently is never, so that makes perfect sense. Or something like that he said. That's just Letterman. That's just Letterman being Letterman.
That's just Letterman, right? And
yeah, I played that show probably 4 or 5 times with different artists. I played it with Paul Westerberg. I played it with Nick Jonas and the Administration. I played with I guess it's only 3 times. I think it was just those 3.
That's plenty. Yeah, I've seen David Letterman twice.
Okay,
as in the audience.
Okay,
but at the old theater, not at the Ed Sullivan Theater.
Sure. And every time he walked back and he'd say, "Hey, are these your drums or is this a rental?" I say, "These are mine, man." Oh, okay, all right. He'd shake my hand and then he'd, make the rest of the round. But I like, why is he asking about the drums all the time?
Well,
and nobody knows.
According to what Morris said, he was so ticked off about the comments that he was making. He went up to Morris and said, "Do you still have that gun sound effect in your keyboards?" And he said, "When I do this, I want you to use your gun sound effect, and I'm going to pretend like I'm committing suicide and shoot myself in the head." And then Coco will come and drag me off the stage. And the reason why he did that was because he didn't want to shake David Letterman's hand because he was pissed off at all the comments that he had made earlier.
I'm sure. I mean, Prince was not very. I mean, you saw how he did Arsenio on the first. Arsenio came walking over. Prince did one of those, and then exited stage left. As soon as Arsenio walked up, Prince made his exit. And so I don't think that was really his style for many of those years. I mean, he in later interviews, I mean, he went back on Arsenio when he was on,
right.
And George Lopez and all that. He got more friendly as he got older, I think. But
yeah, I mean,
it wasn't anything personal. Well, maybe that was personal.
It seemed like it was a little personal. All right, I think I have like I think I had one more question that I had.
Oh, right. I remember now. Letterman actually that time he didn't ask about the drums. He came back and he shook my hand and said, "Is he going to be all right?"
Yeah, he did say that, and in the extent he was like, yeah, when they came back from commercial, find that video on YouTube. He was just like, "Is he okay?" He was asking Paul, "Is he okay? Is he all right?"
Yeah,
all right?
He asked me the same question. Is he going to be all right?
It was kind of violent though to pretend to shoot yourself in the head. That was kind of that was a little
all right, but nobody said nothing for years when he had that microphone clip,
right?
And he was singing into it on stage. No, did you? That wasn't offensive to you?
All right, we'll do this as a closing question. Please let Mike out on what drum gear he was using on the records during this period. Drummers amongst us want to know the juice. That's a good closer.
I mean, early on, Prince had a Peach set of Yamaha recording customs that were in the studio all the time. And I tracked a lot on those until I got more of my own equipment. Then depending on which studio we were in and whether or not we were also set up for rehearsal, I would use one of my different kits. But like I would say like Come and The Gold Experience, and Chaos and Disorder. Like all those later records I played on the Gold kit that's in the artwork on the Gold Experience, where it shows like the stage. I played those drums on all of those records and the Gold Experience. And I think before that, what was the record right before? I guess it would have been, it was Gold Experience Come. The Come was after the record we just talked about today.
Right.
Yeah. So I had switched around then. When we started recording for Come, we were set up in Studio C, and they were running a tie line from Studio A into the room. So we were patched in to the SSL that was in Studio A, but we were in the rehearsal room with the wooden floor and the mirrored wall. Like we rehearsed most tours. We started out rehearsing there in that room.
Wow.
And at some point he was like, "Oh, that's hot. We should record that." And he got tired of having to move into Studio A every time, in the middle of rehearsal. So sometimes we were recording stuff. We were stopping the rehearsal to work on new music and then record it right there. That's how Dark happened. That's how Pop Out we recorded in Studio A. But it was the same kit, that Gold kit. Yeah. What else did we play on that record? There was a lot of programming on Com.
Well, yeah, because there was MPG albums in there too. So in the lineup too.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Same set. By then, by probably late 92, I was playing this Gold set of Sonar drums. Somebody's saying no mention of Exodus. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. I guess I should put it somewhere in there, but that was kind of towards the end of the run, really. I mean,
right. Yeah.
And it stands on its own. And I don't know really what to say about that record. I mean, you can tell he was just sort of, steaming mad at Warner Brothers, and he kind of used Sonny as the mouthpiece to get his ideas across. Yeah. But some of that's like, also autobiographical. I asked Sonny about Cherry Cherry. I'm like, where did the song come from? He's like, that's a true story. Like that girl was somebody we knew. Her name wasn't Cherry, and it wasn't Rosanda. Rosanda was Chili from TLC's name. And they had been kind of hanging out around that. And what I remember, I said, well, what's she like to talk to? He said, she asked me, ain't you got some jeans or something? Like, like she was like, why are you always dressed up like that?
Oh man.
He looked at it. I could see in his face. It's like, I'm Prince. Don't you know I don't,
Yeah, you don't ever, he doesn't.
I'm not those people. I'm me.
Yeah, that's I think we had this discussion before. It's like there was never a down moment where he was not dressed. It seemed like he could answer the door in the middle of the night and he would be dressed in like the most amazing pajama sets you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, I mean, I very rarely saw him, not like kind of full on.
Wow.
It was just how he felt the most comfortable. I'm like, all right,
Man.
I got my mode. Once I turned to the bibs, I never looked back, Oh,
I did have one more question.
Sure.
One that I had on my list. Your opinion of the Netflix documentary.
I don't know what to say other than, I'm
assuming you were interviewed for it because they interviewed everybody.
They tried.
Oh, they interviewed you for it?
I was talking to Tamara Rosenberg on the phone, and the more she talked, the more something on the inside said, this is a smear piece.
What gave you that vibe?
Just something in how the way she was talking to me. And I agreed to do it. And then I called her the next day and said, I don't feel right about it. And I had already gone through a thing with like the Reels channel or somebody like being like taken out of context, and they made me sound like some kind of I don't know what, but they really kind of messed with what I said. I think they did the same thing to Andre. And so I was becoming a little more skittish about speaking out because you couldn't always trust that the message you were trying to send was the message they wanted to send, you know?
Yeah.
So I got squeamish about it. A friend of mine, they called a friend of mine who was kind of there during the last days at Paisley, and he told me, he said he the same thing kind of happened to him while he was talking to her, and he said, if this is a smear piece, I don't want any part of it, and if you use anything, anything that I've already told you, I'll sue. So there are people. I mean, it's so strange, man, because I don't know what made me call Matt Fink this afternoon, but we got into a very explicit discussion about a lot of things. And his opinion was they should let it out because it's impossible to understand his artistry, the trajectory of his artistry, if you don't understand what he came from.
Right.
There's always a reason. And he's like, I don't think Fink is under the impression that they're not going to cancel Prince over this. What it will give people is deeper insight into what it is, I mean, somebody said something to me about that they said that all that yelling he would do on records, it's like they heard pain when he was doing all that screaming. Like it was something moving through him that was very painful. It's like I think about it like James Brown, like he's just kind of cranking it up, but like there was, it's like it really there's anguish in there somewhere,
Yeah, I think the thing that's I mean, I obviously, I don't want anything that's going to, damage his legacy, but I just don't. I mean, when you think of all the stuff and all the varied documentaries and stuff that have been out with James Brown, and oh my God, all the hit pieces that happened to Michael Jackson. I mean, I can't think of things that it's when you're specifically talking about MJ, it's like, they literally did a full blown mini series on something that he was already cleared of. It was like, what's happening here now?
Right.
What is,
yeah, it's difficult to know who to trust, man.
Man.
And also, I actually, after that article came out, was it in the New York Times?
Yeah, it was.
I got a call from a journalist who was working for like the Daily Mail or whatever.
That one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like this UK publication. And they asked me my opinion. And I was like, I mean, when Paul McCartney goes, they're not going to dig up a bunch of, they're not going to,
right.
John Lennon died. They left him alone for the most part. You might have heard, little, rumblings of this and that, but they didn't put him on full display. Right. Especially not when he was, already dead and wasn't around to defend himself.
Yeah,
like I think it's cheap.
Yeah.
In a way, and I feel a little different after talking to Matt Fink, just because he knew Prince for so much longer than I did, and he knows things that I don't, but he seemed to be, in favor of it actually coming out. He's like, it can't hurt him. He's gone, from this plane. It's, being Black and involved in music, it's, I'm always kind of, I'm forced to draw these comparisons all the time. I'm not forced to, but it's just where I go to. It's like, okay, how bad did they do Elvis?
Yeah, well, there's it depends, because there's been some not necessarily pieces, but I mean they've kind of.
I don't want them doing anything,
even close remotely
to Prince that they didn't do to any of their idols. Is all I'm saying.
Oh, absolutely, I agree with that. I mean, right, just like you mentioned, John Lennon, Paul McCartney.
If you wouldn't do it to Paul McCartney, they didn't do it to Tom Petty,
or David Bowie,
or David Bowie. They did. Yeah, I'm saying, like, let's be fair about it. Now, just because Prince waxed a little eclectic, and maybe had a special set of idiosyncrasies, or odd proclivities, or just plain problems, that's no reason to go and just air his dirty laundry out. He lived very much as a private person. Yeah. What you know about Prince, all you need to know about Prince is all in his music.
Yeah, agreed.
Really. That's how I feel about it. Now, You know, I mean, but also listen, if you're paid to do a job, do it. They asked for 6 hours. Why'd you give them 9? You know, I mean, my opinion of that is if you're being commissioned, there's a goal. And sometimes there's a vision. I guess they didn't give him a vision because he went for whatever he went for. And that's great that what's his name? Ezra Edelman? Is that him?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great that you get your 2 friends on, on YouTube yakking it up about how, all the bad stuff in the documentary and nothing about the music. Like I think they're trying to, they're trying to leverage. That's what I feel like. I feel like they're trying to provoke.
Yeah,
Ava DuVernay go along to get along, and they don't have to do that.
Yeah, Zakia says Ava DuVernay's vision was better. Yeah, the difference was that that Ava was actually utilizing audio from Prince. It was actually documentation or video or audio that had been recorded from a variety of different sources, not just interviews, but also private recordings that he had with various people throughout the years, early in his career. So it wasn't going to be a bunch of talking heads. It was going to be in his own, it wasn't going to be what this is. And he didn't even know really much about Prince at all. And that was admittedly.
Yeah, I don't like that. If you don't know who you're about to make a 9-hour film about, then I don't trust your lens. I don't.
Yeah. Wow.
So I mean, that's how I feel about it. I personally can live without it. A documentary about Prince's life and who he did this with and whether or not he was on that. It's salacious to me if that's what's in it, but by the same token, some people agreed to talk. And if they needed to do that to cleanse their own conscience or, to exercise their own demons, that's fine. I'm not saying anybody's lying. I'm just saying, context is important.
Yeah.
And if you're making a documentary about an artist that you don't even really know about personally, like he's not, that's fine that you won't show favor, but you could err on the side of being, of exposing things, that I mean,
what does it matter?
Yeah, it's just like, would you want somebody getting in all your business like that after you're gone?
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, especially when my legacy is supposed to be my music. I
heard him say as much often. Like, like if you want to know who Prince is, just listen to his music, because I mean, he was never much of a conversationalist. I mean, that's why that's why they gave up trying to interview him in the early parts. Like, I think his management, I think it was like, I'm not comfortable doing interviews. They were like, fine, don't.
Yeah.
They let him be himself.
Man, I gotta say, Michael, it's always an honor and a blessing having you on the show. I love your stories. I love your insight, man. And that's one of the reasons why I love having you on, because we always go down these rabbit holes. We do it on our phone calls too. It's like, hey, what's going on?
I mean, I can get into some things on the phone with you that
I know
we can't get into here, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute honor. Please give a warm round of applause to the one and only Michael Bland. Let me put up that scroll too, because I gotta, he's not here for this, but if you guys like this brother shirt,
yes, like it.
If you guys like this brother shirt, it's got Michael Bland, little sunny action on here. You can go to brothersforlifemusic.bandcamp.com/merch. That is scrolling across the bottom right there. You got to pick these up, and they're very, very comfortable. They're very, very high quality cotton, so it's comfy. And man, it's been an honor. And we actually have now the semblance of a brand new album chat with some brand new insight into this thing, man. It's incredible. And we're gonna have to do it again for Exodus for sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry for being so greedy, man. It's just sometimes when there's another guest on with us, I have to measure my output. You got to leave room for somebody else to speak. So
for those that don't know, we're talking. We had talked on the phone earlier, and I was just like, "Well, I can maybe have Tony come on and whoever." He was just like, "No, we'll just kind of keep it." And you're right, because we're already over 3 hours right now that we've been talking. Believe it or not, we have such a good time that you just kind of lose track of time.
Yeah,
and
but like no shade to nobody. I mean,
if
we're
Tony,
all we're all God's children. We're all brothers.
We'd have been 1 o'clock.
I knew I had a lot to say about it, and. So and Tony, he was in a different kind of slot. Like he was busy working on writing things, a lot of the time when we were in the studio. So I wouldn't hear his part sometimes until after,
Yep.
But anyway, I mean, but I play nice in the sandbox. We can do it that way sometime if you want to.
No, we were talking earlier. We were just talking about. We were saying we need to get together, have a group, and do something. What we were talking about. We're talking about doing an online thing, a gathering thing, but it wasn't exits. What we were talking about. We'll remember later.
Yeah, exactly. After the podcast is over, it's yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Michael Bland. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much.
Let me run my mouth, man, and start beef and starting fires and everything.
It is an absolute honor. All right, Mike. I'll give you a ring in a little bit, man. Thank you so much.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks.
All right.
Again, the one, the only Michael Bland in the house. And again, we did the album chat for the Love Symbol album, which just celebrated its 32nd anniversary just a couple of days ago. That was released in 1992 and in the US. A couple weeks before that, or a week or so before that. So anyways, I hope you guys had a great time. Again, lots and lots and lots of stories. And be sure that you actually tune in, because there's a bunch of different things too. Obviously, before we go, make sure that you also join Patreon, support Funkatopia, because the third radio station is up, and it's at patreon.com/Funkatopia. That's patreon.com/Funkatopia. We got 3 radio stations on the app. You can download the app right now. You don't have to be a Patreon supporter to have the app. We got a 24/7 Funk station, a 24/7 print station, and another print station that's for Patreon supporters only. That is way deep, crazy deep cuts, and B-sides and dance mixes and all kinds of stuff, and a bunch of extra things that you won't hear on the other 2 radio stations that are free. But you only get them on Patreon, patreon.com/Funkatopia. So you got to become a member, because you'll get all that stuff. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope that you will join us next week. We will see what's going to happen. You know how these schedules go. Sometimes things will happen. I will tell you that there are some really, really cool potential interviews that are coming up that could drop any day. I'll let you know. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys had a fun time. Let me know what you think via email, funkatopia@gmail.com. We will see you guys soon. Adios, amigos y amigas. Good night.